Alrighty, y'all, we're starting again. I got too excited. My microphone disconnected. Welcome to another episode of the Laps Down Podcast. And my name is Andrea.
I'm MJ.
And we've started this podcast off pretty hot. And I think that maybe it's best that we take a step back and think about, what this podcast means to us. You know what I mean? We just got started with the ATYL media people. You had a great race preview on their YouTube channel this last week. I'm supposed to do my first one this week.
I'm excited. I'm excited to watch you preview the race.
No, I'm not. I just feel like this is too important for us to lose our heads over. You know what I mean? We've got such a good thing going. And I don't really think that we need the McLaren battle to come between us.
Yeah, are you referring to the fact that I started the last episode off by saying that I'm here to defend Lando? That I'm not a part of the Lando stand? This was a really good joke. Wait, can I... one more time. That, forget Lando's stand, I'm here to stand up for Lando. And then I did this. I'm standing with Lando. Just for fun.
I disconnected my mic.
Right. Yeah.
Welcome back, everybody. If you're new here... You're back for another week. That's so exciting. Hi. We are going to be late next week. Just a little admin note. Because I don't see us filming on a Sunday next week, considering we're going to be covering the IndyCar race, boots on the ground. So we'll probably film on Monday night and maybe post on Tuesday. I don't know. Follow us on Instagram or TikTok at LapsDownPod, and we'll try to keep you updated, but it might be a little bit later next week. And be sure to leave a 5-star review if you have not done that already. Any other admin notes, MJ?
I don't think so.
Okay. Do we want to do our usual order? Do we want to switch it up? Do we start
I
with
say
F1?
we just do, let's just do the usual order. It works so well.
The regular schmegula. We'll hit on with the F1 first. Okay, so this weekend... we had a lot going on. This was a pretty spicy F1 race, but the weekend did start off with an announcement that Paul Aron, who is an Alpine reserve driver, one of many Alpine reserve drivers, he would be driving an FP1 for Stake Sauber. And I had a thought that this little deal between Alpine and Stake is probably because Stake Sauber is missing their trusty dusty Robert Schwartzman. They haven't had him all season.
Mm-hmm. That is very true.
And they needed a new reserve driver. He's an oval merchant now, so they needed somebody new to fill in.
He's too busy dominating IndyCar.
Yeah, he won pole in the Indy 500 and then, I guess, forgot how to drive on road courses.
Yeah, been in every race since then for at least some laps.
Oh, Brema. What are you guys up to? But it was very strange. Yeah, he was in the little green and black get-up, and it was very strange seeing him in it, but I hope he had a good time. I like Paul Aron. I'd like to see some stuff work out for him. I don't know if a seat is in his future, but something.
A job of some sort.
Employment. Mm-hmm. We also started this week off with Kimi Antonelli getting a 3-place grid penalty from the race before for hitting Max Verstappen. What do you think? Crime, punishment deserved?
Yeah, probably.
Oh,
but
what
if Max says it's okay? What if Max was like, it's not that big of a deal? Can Max get rid of the penalty? Because I feel like he wasn't too pressed by it.
Well, if that's the case, then we should talk about later on in this episode where Max also said another penalty was not necessary.
Should Max be the president of the FIA?
Keep that energy, MJ, Miss Standing Up for Lando. Keep that energy.
Hey.
No, I think that it's fine to let Max just decide what he cares about and doesn't care about. I think it's if he was pressed about it, he would have just punched Kimi and then we would have had it over with,
Let him resolve it in the pit lane.
And they're going to be teammates. So,
right.
There was actually a rumor where people were like, that's why he was so chill about the Kimi thing, is he's already showing what a good teammate he's going to be to Kimi.
Yeah, because Max famously is super cares about his teammates.
I don't know, because Kimi, I guess, also gave Max a tow in qualifying this weekend. I think that they might might be, there's a little part of me where I'm like, okay, you guys are doing a little too much. Okay, Toto already said he was going to sign Max. You don't have to show how good you'll get along.
He's just grooming him to be his friend. He's like, look, we're such good teammates, but we're even better soulmates.
He's like, Max let me ride on his private jet, and we could do that every race weekend if we're on the same team.
That could be really fun. We hang out, we share one driver's room.
Aw. We just tear down the wall between them. We can hang out.
Aww.
Yeah, I don't know. I think that there is a little part of me where I'm like, okay, you guys are laid on a little thick. What did you think about the whole Mercedes Max rumor? I mean, I will say it is increasingly becoming like the rumor is getting a little too far for it just to be a rumor. Like apparently the signing has been approved with the exception of like it just needs to go in front of the Mercedes board.
We had this last year with Carlos Sainz. This is the exact same thing with Carlos where Toto like basically went on the record and was like, yeah, no, we're probably going to get Carlos. And then we were all like, okay, well, are you going to make it official? And then James Vallis was like, no, I courted him. I got Carlos. And then we had to do this whole thing again where we go, Toto, why are you lying? Why did you lie?
Why did you lie?
Why did you lie?
I thought the most convincing to me where I was like, maybe this is a little more than a rumor, was they asked Zach Brown about it on F1 TV, and he was like, I mean, I don't know if their answers are a little weird. He's just like us sometimes with like, I don't think he actually has insider knowledge. I think he's just assuming based on people's like behavior. And he's like, I don't know, like, why didn't he just say he was driving for Red Bull if he was driving for Red Bull? I mean, ask Oscar and Lando where they're driving. They'll just say McLaren. So I don't know. Think something's up. And they're like, that's so true, Zach. Did you hear Christian Horner say he wanted Oscar if he loses Max? And he's like, get fucked, Christian. I was
Zach
like,
Brown
whoa.
is a curious one.
I was like, whoa, it's getting spicy. I was like, wait, are they actually contacting Oscar? Because if that's the case, stay away from him, Christian. I second what Zach Brown said. Get fucked.
Yeah, not there. No, thank you.
Yeah. Try again, Oscar. Pick a different place. But yeah, I thought it was juicy. I like the rumor. The rumor can stay. I think it's entertaining. And George is so funny with like this rumor because he is actually, I feel like, kind of getting mad that he doesn't have a contract. Apparently he got offered one that was for like a 1+1 deal, and he was like, please just like commit. He's like literally standing in front of a man he's been dating for a decade being like, why won't you just marry me, Toto? Why won't you just marry me? First there was another woman. Yeah, first it was Lewis was your first love. Now there's another woman with Kimmy, and it's like, just marry me. I've been here this whole time.
Maybe George should stand up, though, because it's like, Toto's got wandering eyes. Let's be honest. Anyone comes slightly available, and he's in the DMs. He's making a phone call. It's like, George, know your worth. Like, you've done pretty well most of the season sometimes. Like, you're kind of the face of, like, this relationship. It's like, I don't know, if I were him, I'd be like, if you only want me for a 1+1, I'd go to Cadillac.
You know what it's giving? You know what it's really giving? It's giving every couple on Love Island this year, where it's like they will not close things off. Every time a new bombshell enters the villa, they're like, well, I want to explore this connection. And it's like they're just coupling up each week just to make it through to the next week. But it's like, they're not finding love. This is right. So, like, Ace and Shelley coded, in my opinion. So Nick and Sierra.
Yeah, he's got to get off that island. Get off of Mercedes Island. If they want Max, they can have Max. Whatever. That's fine. George needs to go somewhere where he is, A, respected, and B, that's really it. Like, I would just love to see someone respect George for once. Just try to respect George challenge.
George is the Amaya Papaya of this Mercedes Island. Yes. Okay.
Max is Huda.
I love a good crash out, though. I'm sorry, I do. I think it's
it is good. I'm not saying it's wrong.
It makes for good TV. What do you want from me? Okay. Right. Speaking of Cadillac, Keanu Reeves is apparently making a Cadillac F1 team docuseries, What do you think's going to be in
Okay.
this documentary?
I sure hope it's the drivers. Maybe what the car looks like. Anything but Tommy Hilfiger. Just give me something.
Just a little something would be nice. Yeah. Who's their team principal?
Dwight Yoakam, the Nitty Gritty Dirt Band. Someone with roots to Cadillac. Those are the only two people I know who have any connection to Cadillac. Just country singers.
Right. Okay, so cool. Shows about how much we know about the Cadillac brand identity. As avid F1 fans who are tuning in every week, I still cannot tell you, gun to my head, anything about this Cadillac F1 team. I'm like, I don't know, maybe they have a silver color on the car, maybe? It's looking like there might be some silver going on. Potentially. That's about it. That's all I got for you. And Keanu Reeves, I guess, is going to tell us the rest.
Okay.
They also had a V-carb special livery for the British GP that was, like, graffitied out.
I kind of liked it. I gotta be honest.
Me too.
I really like those. Didn't they do one last year that was also kind of graffiti vibes?
I think it was for Miami. For some reason, last year, everybody just thought, like, Miami equaled graffiti. And, like, all the special helmets, all the special liveries were all, like, graffitied out. So true. Everybody knows when you think Miami, you think graffiti.
Graffiti. Street art. I really liked it. I thought it was cute. Wasn't there fire suits? The fire suits were different. I think I saw that on Instagram.
Yeah, they
I don't know
the fire suits.
I don't know if I loved that vibe. Just because I actually, to be completely honest, if you're not like changing the entire fire suit to be like, oh, this weekend we're running like the night mode ones. Like it's basically the same thing. It's just like darker. Just don't change the fire suits.
Yeah, I think that's a fair ask. The worst fire suits forever will always be the sun-bleached Ferrari ones from last year's Las Vegas GP. I think about those like as a nightmare when I go to sleep. I think on TikTok I said it looked like chinchillas rolling in a little dust bath. That's what it looked like to me.
No, I see that. Those
While
were
we're
bad.
speaking of graffiti, I did have an idea that I sent you in our TikTok DMs and like you just kind of didn't like respond to it. So I just wanted to like bring it up publicly. What do you think about like, you know, those, I just wanted to bring up our beefs publicly. Those like little tank tops you can get made in the mall where they like airbrush like somebody's name or something on them? Can we do those with our favorite IndyCar drivers? Like I'm kind of picturing you having one that says like Scott Dixon on it and like orange and blue like airbrush. Like wouldn't that be so cute?
Those would be cool. I did like that, and I did agree with that, whether or not I responded back to you. I just want you to know, I did like that idea. I thought that was very good.
Wait, I have another idea. We also go to the mall. Okay. Is there a mall in Iowa, like near the track that we can go to? Maybe. Okay, we'll have to figure that out. I'm thinking that your mall would probably be like my mall in rural Michigan, where it would surely have a stall that would sell the like My Queen, My King.
Oh, 100%. It does. Yes.
And I just like didn't know if like maybe we could wear those to the track. You and I. Thoughts?
We could definitely this is definitely something we could talk about for sure.
Okay. Yeah, I'm so excited to talk about it offline. Okay. You get to just think about which one you want, whether you want to be my queen or my king. Okay, so we then go into free practice and what? Why are you confused?
Well, like if I were the one that says like my queen, does that mean I'm the queen or does that mean that you're my queen?
It has an arrow usually pointing to the other
sick.
person. So like it would say like my queen pointing to me and we'd have to like just kind of walk in a way that the
But then
arrows
we'd always
would
have to, because we don't want to like give royalty to just random strangers. Heaven forbid.
I'm picturing us like in the pit area of IndyCar and like the drivers are having to avoid to not be in front of the arrow. So it doesn't say like my queen.
I don't want to be her queen.
No. And like you and I are just desperately trying to snap a picture of like my queen and it's like pointing at Scotty Mac.
Yeah, I think this is a great idea. We can go to the mall.
I'm so excited. So in free practice, we had quite a few people spinning about. We had Gabby Bortoletto, Pierre spinning in FP1. We had Gabby Bortoletto spinning again in FP3. Actually ended up breaking his suspension.
Uh-oh.
And then when he did that, he brought out the red flag, and Ollie Behrman was trying to go into the pit lane for the red flag, was apparently fucking booking it into the pit lane, and then tried to brake, and his brakes were cold, and he ended up smacking into the barrier. When you crash into the barrier under a red flag, it's automatically a red flag infringement, and so he got a 10-place grid penalty.
He's innocent. That's excessive. 10 places for what? He was in the pit lane. Who is he gonna hurt? Nobody.
I think that they were arguing anybody that was out trying to assist Gabby Bordello.
Sure.
No, but I think it's crazy because this is the second 10-place grid penalty he's gotten this season, and we're halfway through the season.
Doesn't he have like 8 penalty points at this point? So when I saw Kevin Magnussen, when I saw Kevin Magnussen there, I was like, they're bringing him in specifically to talk to Ollie and be like, hey, you can't keep going like this. Look where I am. I don't have a seat anymore. Like, you have to calm down.
It was like counseling for him. Like, it's like Scared Straight. It's like, this is what happens.
That's exactly what it
like
was.
Me.
Yeah.
And then he took a little trip over to see his husband, who's been away at war. And by war, I mean steak.
Correct.
It's a war over there. So yeah, I don't know. I feel really bad for Ollie because he was so excited for his home GP. He was talking about it like all week in the press. Like, I feel like people kept forgetting that he was British because he's new here. So like people were just like being like, yeah, we have all these British drivers. We have Lewis, we have Lando, we have George. And then they were like arguing whether or not they should include Alex. And then he was like, excusing the racism with the Alex thing. What if you remembered I exist? And they were like, oh shit, I forgot you were here. Get in here, Ollie.
This week was a big deal for him. Percy Pig was there with Haas just to see him. Who is Percy Pig? I'm not sure. But he,
I thought it was
Ollie Behrman. No, Peppa Pig, she's a little girl. She's not that big. Okay.
You can see my confusion though. Like when I see a pig with a British accent, I'm immediately like Peppa.
That, you know what? And the little P thing, the PP thing. Yeah. Mm-hmm. I get it. However.
So who's Percy?
I don't know. I don't know.
Get to it, investigate. MJ, who is Percy the pig and why is Ollie so close with him? New wag alert?
Ollie. Oh. Was he in the garage? Did you see him? Did they ever like flash over to him and you just see Percy going like this?
Pig. It's a little pig with headphones on. Okay, so besides controversially young girlfriend of Ollie Behrman, Percy the pig.
Percy Pig.
We also just had like out of free practice this narrative that the Ferraris were all fixed. And what did I say on TikTok, huh? Me and my expert analytical skills of F1. I said, guys, we've been here before. Don't do this to yourselves. You're going to get all worked up and then you're going to be sad about it. And then I'm going to have to hear about it for 3 to 5 business days. And I don't want to. And what did they do, MJ? What did the Ferrari fans do?
They got all worked up about it. They said, we're so back. They said, we're going to have Lewis Hamilton, P1. Charles Leclerc, also P1. Because that's how good the Ferraris are. That's what they said. You okay?
They're tied for first. Oh my god.
Yeah.
Ultimate Ferrari win. I don't know. What would you consider Ferrari being fixed?
The fans not complaining about it. That would fix it for me, I think. I think top 10 is great.
That would fix it for me, I think. No, they're not happy with top 10. I'm trying to figure out what they are happy with. I'm unsure.
What do you want? They want like... Yeah, no, they want every single weekend.
They want Constructors' Championship. And that ship has sailed, my loves. It's like the Titanic out in the middle of the Atlantic. Go take a submarine to it, sister.
If you want
it's
it.
not happening.
Yeah, the only way you're getting a championship is if you pay for the Ocean Gate ride, I fear.
Yeah,
that's your only chance at a ship this year, but there's always next year, and I don't think it's too early for them to be saying that.
No, honestly, if Fred Vasseur went to the media and was like, hey, what's up? We've completely given up and we're focusing entirely on 2026. I'd be like, fair enough.
At least
I think it'd be nice if they just said that, because I feel like that's already like what they have done. I'm like, just say that. Yes. Just say that. That's what James Val says every weekend, and we live with that.
Yeah. I don't know. The Ferrari fans need something. You gotta throw them a bone. Please, throw me a bone.
Please. I can't keep doing this. So then we have qualifying, and we have Franco Colapinto crashing in Q1. He's able to back himself out of the gravel despite smacking a barrier, and the car is like pretty shaky. And he genuinely thinks, because he crashed like right on the end of pit road, this man genuinely thought he was going to drive it all the way around the track. That was not going to happen, obviously. So they had to bring out a red flag.
Ambitious.
Right.
Yeah.
That's what I would call most of his year at Alpine so far. Ambitious. But yeah. that's a good way to sum it up. With love. I don't know. So what do you think about like the rumors that he's a goner and Valtteri Bottas is in? Is that what we're doing at Alpine now? We're just like trying to see what works?
That's exciting. On Sky Sports, they were talking like he was already gone. And so I was like, yeah, no, he's probably already gone if Sky Sports is saying that. I think it'd be cool to see Valtteri back in a car. So I'm kind of there for that. But I'm also like, just put Jack Dillon back in. Like, if we're going to do this, let's do this. Put Jack back in.
I saw BuzzFeed posted a video this week that was like F1 drivers try to pass an American driver's test. And oh my goodness, what a blast from a past it was to see Jack Dillon there. I had already forgot he existed. I'm sorry. I just have like a really short-term memory. If I don't see somebody for 5 weekends, I genuinely forget they exist. I'm like, oh shit, you're here. What's up, Jack? But I don't know. I kind of miss him. Can we bring Jack Dillon back, please, Alpine?
Might as well.
At least he was fun. He might have been bad at F1, but he was fun. I don't get any personality from Franco anymore. I feel like last year we were getting personality from him.
The Alpine like social media team isn't juicing Franco like they've done with like they've done with Jack Dillon, or like, I mean, Williams juiced Franco, the Franco content.
No, like I literally
every
time I opened my apps, it was like, here's 17 videos of Franco for you guys to use for thirst edits if you guys want that. And I was like, wow, this is a different strategy from what we've seen previously with Logan Sargent, but okay, I guess.
Right. They're kind of Logan Sargenting Franco over at Alpine, where they're like, oh, he's going to be gone soon, isn't he?
Yeah, they're not even putting him on there. The only thing we ever got from Logan was him dunking that basketball. That's like every Logan girl has to use that for every personality edit for like the last 3 or 4 years. Like, that's all they got.
Yeah. That's my profile pic on Fantasy.
That's all they got. Yeah, but then Franco came. I swear they were getting like Argentinian sponsors. Like, they literally were like, yeah, he's only gonna be here for like right now, but like, fuck it, yeah, come on in. We're an Argentinian team now. They had they had Alex Albon drinking yerba mate. I haven't seen Pierre drink yerba mate once.
I think he did. I think he actually did.
Okay.
Because I was like, oh, I see we're reheating some nachos, aren't we? I see we can't come up with anything by ourselves. But it's also, imagine having to do, like, bounce a personality off of Pierre. Like, imagine trying to improv with Pierre and be like, fuck.
He only gives, like, when he really wants to give. Like, sometimes Pierre, like, surprises me with his personality, and I'm like, what did they put in your coffee this morning, my guy? Like, today, after his race, he got interviewed, and he was like, if somebody told me I was going to be 6th after this race, I would have said, what are you smoking? Because it's really strong. And I was like, this is F1 TV, by the way, Pierre. This is F1 TV. Oh, even Laura Winters was like, moving right along. We're not going to talk about that. Okay, we had Liam Lawson, Gabby Bortoletto, Lance Stroll, Nico, and Franco out in Q1. Nico out in Q1. Watch this space.
This is foreshadowing.
Watch this space. We have Q2. Nothing that exciting. The usual subjects were out in Q2, and that includes Yuki Tsunoda, Carlos Sainz, Isaac Adjar, Alex Albon, and Esteban Ocon.
All my faves.
Yeah, like
Woo!
MJ resides in Q2, bro.
Q2 is stacked.
And then in our final round of qualifying, we had what I thought was kind of a done deal with Oscar Piastri and pole. I literally was typing it in my notes. I was like, oh, Oscar Piastri on pole. And then they're like, I'm just kidding. Max Verstappen put in a monster cooker of a lap. Wow. So Max Verstappen was on pole, followed by Oscar Piastri, Lando Norris, George Russell, Hamilton, and Leclerc. The Ferrari fans were not happy with this. They thought everything was fixed. I said wait till qualifying. I said wait till qualifying.
Did you see all of the, I don't know what your For You page looked like. Everybody was like, oh my God, I can't believe Max did that with an absolute garbage truck. I can't believe he did that with the most tractor vehicle out there. And I was like, is that car that bad? Like, are we calling it the worst car on the grid and being like, he's actually a god for being able to put it on pole as if he hasn't done it multiple times already this season?
I have two things to that.
Okay,
go ahead.
Let's hear it. No, okay. Carry on.
My first is that the same with Ferrari fans taking free practice too seriously. We have a problem in the F1 community where people believe Max Verstappen on a Friday free practice when he says, this is the worst car I've ever sat foot in. I cannot drive it. It's literally undrivable. And then they always fixed it by the next day. So it's like, that's just his version of feedback, guys. It's not genuine. He doesn't actually mean it's drivable. He just believes that to be helpful somehow to the engineers. And then it, I guess, somehow is, because they always fix it by Saturday. Mm-hmm. But I do think that people take what he says too seriously. I've learned he's actually just a diva. He's giving diva.
He wants to drive a flawless vehicle is what he wants to drive. But also he's been doing this bullshit where it's like bottom of the charts on free practice 1, 2, and 3, and then everyone's like, whoa, how did he come out of nowhere and put it on pole for the third weekend in a row? And I'm like, how did he? How did he do it? Well, that's a really great question.
I do actually have a little tea on how he did it this week in particular. They literally were like, yeah, we just built the car for qualifying this week. Which I don't really know how this works, like, strategy-wise, because you can't really, like, change that much after qualifying to the car before the race. But essentially, they, like, took off a fuck ton of downforce on the car and, like, put on, like, some speedy rear wing. And they were like, oh, yeah, it'll be great for qualifying and perfectly fine as long as it doesn't rain on race day.
Sure. Which it never does at Silverstone.
No, that's exactly what I was thinking. I was like, that's such an interesting gamble, Christian Horner. Gambling with rain on Silverstone weekend. I wouldn't do that personally. Maybe we could have just taken, instead of pole, like a good, like, P5 result out of qualifying and just been happy with that. If in exchange it meant you might have a drivable car in the rain. Because Max Verstappen's actually good in the rain. I don't really understand this strategy from Red Bull. I genuinely, like, in the grid walk before the race, they were like, oh, yeah, everything's actually hitting the fan for Max as these, like, raindrops fall. Because this car is built specifically with, like, hardly any downforce, cannot do the rain. So what do you think about that, MJ?
This is all new information to me. I didn't realize any of this had happened. So, do you think that they have the mentality, the engineers, the management, whatever, where they're just like, driving the car? Not my circus. You know, like, the car is built. The car is good. One piece, exactly how you wanted it. Now, Max, you're the driver. Figure out how to drive the car in the rain. Do you think that's what happened?
No, they were like, you told us to build the fastest car. You did say I had to stay on the track.
You didn't say you wanted the fastest car for Sunday, but look how fast it was Saturday. Check mate as he's, like, signing his contract to Mercedes.
Well, apparently his exit clause is activated if he's, like, below third in the Drivers' Championship. So I also don't think he gives a fuck. He's probably like, alrighty, if that's what you guys think is best. And they're like, are you sure you want us to do this, Max? This seems like a bad idea. He's like, no, go ahead.
Rats.
Go
just the whole week. Just the whole week he's going, I actually read on the Weather Channel that this is going to be the first weekend ever it doesn't rain. And it's a really big deal. And so I think you guys should build the car as if it is not going to rain because that's what the Weather Channel said, which is what I'm telling you right now. So that's how you should build the car.
Yeah. I literally was like, what the fuck were they, as Pierre Gasly would say, whatever they were smoking must have been pretty strong. Because that is the dumbest Silverstone idea I've ever heard in my entire life.
That's crazy.
God. You know what? I think I've had quite enough. Christian Horner, let me run the team. I think I've had quite enough of you, buddy.
Support that.
Anywho, so we go out on their formation lap, and everybody's on inters, but Charles and George Russell, they get a light bulb moment, and they go, the track is actually kind of drying up. It's like half inters, half slicks right now. So I'm going to go into the pit lane before the race even starts, and I'm going to put on slick tires, and then I'm going to beat everybody on the first couple laps. Do you think that worked, MJ? Do you think giving up your track position of what was it, 4th and 5th on the grid and doing something that no one else is doing is a good idea?
I've only ever seen it work once, and that was with Haas in Canada.
That was so sick.
And if it works well with Haas, it's probably not going to work well for you.
That's if you're on the same risky strategy as Kevin Magnussen in a rain race, it's too risky. You're playing with
you're never going to be K-Mag. You're not her. You're not him. You know?
Yeah. Yeah, no, I agree. And then Franco was supposed to start from the pit lane and then just didn't. And they didn't say anything about that. They were like, Franco's was wheeled back in the garage, by the way, guys. Okay, you don't have to tell me any further about that. Did they kill him? What happened to him? Do we have eyes on him? Was it like a Senna in, is it Senna in Hunger Games? Where they
Senna?
You're just watching him get dragged back and you're like, I hope he's okay. What's going on?
Boy, I hope he's here when I get out of the Hunger Games. I don't know.
That's how this felt. Or maybe he did a Lance Stroll where he was like, I can feel like this race is going to be a shit show and I just don't really have it in me today.
Yeah.
Can you let me stay in the garage, please? That's fine.
Please don't make me go out in the rain.
So then we had on the first lap a virtual safety car because Liam Lawson went off, had contact with Esteban Ocon. Quick, without seeing any replays, because I don't remember what happened. Whose fault do you think it is? These are
what are my options, Liam or Esteban?
These are two rampant contact makers. They be making contact.
I know. It's when it's those two, it's I don't care whose fault it was. I'm just glad you guys are going to be quiet. You know, I don't know what to tell you.
It could be anybody. I think I'm going to go with Liam's fault just because it seems more fun. Probably.
Yeah, I agree. He's in a faster car. It's don't be punching down, you know?
Yeah, that's so true. We also had Gabby Bortoletto hit the barrier on the restart from this virtual safety car because he was on slicks. What do you think? Here's another team principal role play game. You're a team principal. You have a rookie driver who historically has not been doing very well in the rain and who went off in the dry twice during free practice. Do you put them on slicks early to see if they can keep control of their car while the track is still wet?
Yes. Go. Put them out. Here's my thoughts.
You're hired.
Put him on slicks early, so then if he fucks up early, it's I didn't get my hopes up, you know? It's a litmus test. It's when you ask a man, when you're talking to him on Tinder, you're like, okay, what are your favorite podcasts? And then he goes, Joe Rogan podcast. And you go, all right, no, this was great. Cut him off early.
What if he says Laps Down podcast? Do you think that's also a red flag?
That's also a red flag, because I'm what are you getting out of that? Be honest, what are you getting out of that?
No, it's so true. And also, it's if it's you on Tinder and they say your podcast, that means they fucking Googled the shit out of you. They found you.
I would hate that.
Yeah. I don't know. Would you guys tell your Tinder dates that your favorite podcast was the Laps Down podcast? Be honest, guys. Be honest. What do you think that says about you?
Maybe recommend that they listen to this episode And then I'll tell them, I'll be like, hey, actually, all of our listeners are like super hot and kind and funny. And so if you're matching with one of our listeners on a dating app, you're in for a good time, diva.
No, that's really good. Can I make that the trailer for this podcast? We have to film a new trailer. I think that's the podcast trailer. Okay. So then we have Oscar chasing down Max Verstappen, and he gets him on lap 9. Okay. And then it starts dumping rain. They're like, yeah, apparently heavy rain is coming. Like the commentators, oh, apparently heavy rain is coming. And then you just see like all the cameras are blurry. Like you can't see anything on track. And they're like, oh, that's probably the rain that they were talking about. But Max goes off and Lando passes him. But he gets his spot back when they both eventually pit for inters. And Max wins the race off of pit road. Oh my God. I love when F1 provides us a race off of pit road. It doesn't happen often, but man, when it does, it hits so good. It hits so good. They double stacked McLarens. Oscar had a really good pit stop, was out of there. Lando came in, not so good of a pit stop. Do you think that NASCAR could do double stacked pit stops? Like imagine if they were like, we have one pit crew for all of Joe Gibbs racing cars. And you have to like double stack them. That would be fun, just for like one race.
I definitely think I think JGR would be fine.
Some of the other ones, it'd be a little rocky.
I think I wouldn't be too excited about maybe Trackhouse or
with love.
One of the ones that always forget to put all the tires on. Maybe one of those ones. That'd be crazy though if they had to. Well, because they would have like 4 in a row. People would die. We couldn't do it. People would die.
That's how I feel about most IndyCar and NASCAR pit stops, by the way. I'm just like, somebody's going to die here, huh?
I'm so surprised we've seen some close calls. Knock on wood.
That was me knocking on wood, y'all. Anywho, we had another safety car out on lap 14. I believe just for the race needed to be neutralized because of the rain. They were like, it's too much rain. Stop racing each other. Too much. Because they were getting a little too crazy. But at this time, I didn't mean to alarm you, but we did have a Lance Stroll in 4th place. And Lance Stroll, they always say this, and I've always went through varying degrees of believing it, that he's like a wet weather wizard. If it's a wet race, what is your confidence level on Lance Stroll doing well? As his cousin.
As his cousin, can I be honest with you? I don't think I ever know where Lance is in a race until it's over.
That's about my thoughts as well. But I was like, whoa.
He might be. I feel like I've heard that before. I think I've heard that I definitely think I've heard that before. I think I've heard that.
Right. So that's my confidence level on that answer. Low. So then we had a safety car restart, and in the cool down room, the drivers were like pretty surprised that they decided to restart the race, because the drivers were talking about how like none of them could see anything, and they were like, just like, okay, we've already neutralized the race because of the rain. Why did you decide at this point that the rain was no longer an issue? Because it was definitely still an issue. And as evidence of that, we had Isaac Hadjar have a massive impact with a barrier after rear-ending Kimi. And like he literally was just like, he had no idea a car was there. And Kimi, of course, had no idea a car was behind him. And then he ended up having to retire. Kimi had to retire his car because of floor damage. And then obviously Isaac was like all the way in the barriers. But the spray was pretty bad.
It looked pretty bad. And then wasn't there a moment where Charles is like, actually, I'm being waterboarded inside of my helmet by how much water is rushing into it? Yes. I was like, we could probably, I think, fix that. Like, I think that's fixable. Do you think, because I know the Aeroscreen is actually a really big topic of conversation right now in IndyCar, because a lot of drivers are saying, like, they do not fuck with the Aeroscreen anymore because of, like, it's hard to get ventilation in there and the cars overheat, and especially with like the hybrid, obviously Formula One wouldn't have the hybrid issue. But do you think that an Aeroscreen would ever be something they would consider? But then again, as I'm saying that, I'm like, F1 doesn't care about the drivers.
Yeah, I think that
famously.
I do think that I'm like starting to get a little bit more worried about the heat aspect with the IndyCar drivers.
Yeah.
Like they literally are like the yellows are just so miserable. Like you see the
Unbearable.
drivers just like sticking their arms out of the Aeroscreen. And they're like, what's going on over there? And they're like, oh, he's just cooling down. It's like
He hot.
He's both hands off the wheel with 2 hands at the top. I don't know if this is for safety anymore, you know? I also, though, like if I were a driver, I would like an Aeroscreen because I get weirded out by the thought of bugs flying in their face.
Oh my God. Imagine not having an Aeroscreen and then going to Le Mans.
Oh my God, they couldn't stop talking about those bugs,
the
girlies.
bugs. That's a good point.
I don't know. I think that it is more of a just like, well, do you want to know David Coulthard's thoughts on it with the Charles visor situation? He said, yeah, I try to just make sure my visor is sealed. After
David,
the radio we get from Charles of like, I think I'm going to die in here. He's like, ooh, that's why you want to make sure it's sealed.
That's victim
wow.
blaming. DC.
Dude, I can't wait to talk about our Townsend Bell victim blame later. That was the craziest thing.
Bell.
Yeah, no, that's some shit Townsend would say. Charles, have you tried spitting the water out?
Have you tried turning off the rain? Typically when I'm driving, I try for there to be no rain. So.
Yeah. Yeah. Sorry, buddy. So this is when we have a very controversial moment of the race, okay? This is an important part of the race. So we had a safety car because of Isaac Hadjar. Then the safety car is leaving. Goodbye, safety car. The safety car turns off his lights. And Oscar, lovingly, slams on his brakes, as one does when you're about to restart the race. So I don't really know how restarts are supposed to work in F1, I'll be honest, because I'm not a driver. And I know that restarts can be messy when you have certain people in the front. You know, in IndyCar, we got a bunch of idiots up there on the restarts and they like fuck it up for everyone behind them.
Correct.
I'm kind of torn because the commentators were making it sound like that's actually kind of a normal thing. Like they were like, yeah, like you want to give some space to the safety car because the safety car is about to go in and you want to like create as much space so you have as much room to do the restart on. And they were like, and Oscar's trying to do the restart on this corner. So he's trying to slow up so that he can like get some space and then do it on like this coming corner. The reason why I'm like kind of like, I don't know how this is supposed to work is because it seems like every time Max is not leading a safety car restart with love, he gets too close to my comfort to the car in front of him. He will get side by side with them, which I don't really feel like you're supposed to do. Like everyone else just like lines up behind, but Max will like get right next to him and be like, oh, I'm not passing you. I'm not passing you. I'm just next to you. So when Oscar slammed on his brakes, he just absolutely went flying past Oscar. And then he was like, oh shit, I'm not supposed to be up here.
Oops.
And then he was like trying to file back in line behind Oscar. Oscar ended up getting a 10-second grid penalty because according to his like data that the FIA looked at, he was driving like erratically by like braking all of a sudden. But Oscar was like, I've literally always done that whenever there was a safety car restart and I was leading it. That's literally what I've always done. And then some people were like, isn't this exactly what happened with George when he did the same thing? Max and Red Bull tried to say that it was like erratic driving. And then the FIA said, no, that's not erratic driving. I guess if you just go under the assumption that like the FIA saw something that they thought met the threshold for erratic driving, the penalty could have been 5 or 10 seconds, and they chose 10. A lot of people are saying this because he doesn't have a British passport. What do you think, MJ?
Drama.
Weigh in.
I think that's quite the predicament.
Oh, that's good.
10 seconds is crazy. There are very few instances where the FIA gives a 10-second and I'm like, yeah, no, that makes sense. It's usually when I'm like, oh, he tried to like kill somebody else. Like I'm like, that's like fucked up. At least 10 seconds, you know? I guess it's one of those things where it doesn't piss me off that he got a 10-second penalty for whatever they saw with the braking at the restart. It more upsets me that it's like, okay, but can't we just, like, be consistent? Or
yeah, I think either it's, like, not important enough that George got no penalty, or it's so important Oscar got 10.
Right. And then I also, like with NASCAR, when there's a penalty, someone comes out and explains why the penalty is. Or IndyCar. IndyCar is a great example. Someone will come out, usually Doug Bowles, and he'll go, okay, so this is why he got this penalty specifically. When we saw a case like this however long ago, and they got this different penalty, we decided for these reasons, the penalties should be different. And I really think F1 and F1 Twitter could benefit from having someone who knows why they gave the penalty come out and say why they gave the penalty. In the end, it was nice, though, because he kind of handed the win to Lando, and Lando had that stand.
Okay, well, just a great example of, like, you have to murder somebody to get 10-second penalty. Yuki gets a 10-second penalty for absolutely causing a crazy collision. So those are equal. In one situation, you have somebody cause a collision and end their races. In the other situation, you have one person came out in front of Oscar, realized that it was a mistake, went back behind Oscar. Even Max was like, 10 seconds? That's a little crazy. And then Max, of course, was like, it's because he's not British. I've been fucking saying this shit. He's like, Oscar, buddy, I know how you feel, okay? These British bitches be ruining everything. But a lot of people were like, they did it because they wanted Lando to win the Silverstone race.
I don't think it's that deep. I don't think the FIA can think ahead that far, if I'm being completely honest. I don't think they could see, you know, like, a action and be like, this is what the consequence in the future is going to look like. I think they go, Oscar, probably going to give him a 10-second penalty.
So true. I don't know. Well, Oscar was, like, pretty pissed, and he was driving pissed. And then he came over the radio, and they were telling him about the penalty, I think. And he was like, oh, if you guys agree that the penalty is so, like, unfair, like, then let's switch positions back and race. Like give me the position back. And I love him so much. I love Oscar so much. But I was like, darling, that is just not what is going to happen right now.
But you got to ask. If we've learned one thing from F1 is, like, you got to put it out there because sometimes it's going to happen.
Could you imagine if they radioed Lando at his home race, the one that he just said he would trade all his race wins in to win this home race, that he is literally a grandstand dedicated to him, and they were like, hey, buddy, you're probably gonna have to give that place back to Oscar.
Can you let Oscar by? The FIA was being mean to him.
Yeah, I mean, I was like, Oscar, my love, I agree that it's unfair. I don't know what the fuck Lando had to do with that. Like, Lando was not even. It is
so funny that he asked, though. That's how you can tell he was, like, super pissed. Because normally, like, even if he thought that he deserved to, like, be, like, if in a situation, heaven forbid, he would never ask to switch positions. But he was so mad. He's like, yeah, well, if you think it's that bad, why don't you tell him to switch with me? If you actually think it's that bad.
Mm-hmm. I think it's, like, kind of like when you're really mad at somebody and you send a text message, like, talking all about how mad you are and why you're mad and, like, blah, blah, blah. And it's, like, this whole big, like, text message. And then, like, an hour later, you read it back and you're like, that was so fucking cringe. Like, I probably could have just, like, let it go. Like, it was, like...
let the emotion, like, fester for a minute.
Yeah, I think he's going to be so cringed out by that radio for the rest of the season. He's literally going to be like, I cannot believe I asked for that.
No, I think it's going to be one better, and I think he's going to bring it up again over the radio.
He's going to be like, can we switch back positions now?
He's going to be like, you guys ever heard of a bit? Call back. What if we switched?
Oh, God. So then we had George come in for slicks because they were like, the track is dry. And then George, like, ate shit. Didn't hit the barrier, but, like, kind of ate shit. And they're like, it's not dry. So they just stayed on inters for the rest of the race. And then Lewis had, like, a little moment where he was off, which was amazing because it ended up meaning that he was chasing down Nico Hulkenberg for a while. And I was like, Lewis, for fuck's sake, you have how many championships? Like, can we not just let Nico fucking have this one thing? Like, they enabled DRS and he was in DRS range. And I was like, I swear to fuck, if Lewis overtakes him, I actually, like, made peace with myself. I was like, I'm going to hate Lewis Hamilton probably for the rest of the time I watch F1.
Yeah, this will be a turning point.
Like, I don't know how I could, like, look at him the same. If I know you're like, oh, that's racing. I understand. What the fuck does Lewis Hamilton need a third place podium for? Nothing. It would mean nothing to him. I was like, don't fucking just, can we throw the race a little bit? Like, just, and then he ended up making a mistake, and then Nico ran away with it. And so at the end of the race, we have Oscar in second, Nico in third, Norris winning his home race at Silverstone. I feel bad for like Lando here because he was like really trying to have this whole moment of like winning his home race. I absolutely could not give less of a shit about that. We have a Nico Hülkenberg podium. I was in shock. I couldn't even believe what I was seeing. I couldn't. What do you mean this man has never had a podium before?
They were like, in 236 races, he gets his first podium. And I'm like, okay, you're kind of doing him dirty by saying the number. You could have just said it's been like a long time and he hasn't gotten a podium. Second of all, I truly never thought we were going to see Nico on a podium, especially I never thought we were going to see a Steak Sauber kick F1 team on the podium. And this clearly they didn't either.
We could do it. Yeah. Yeah. They probably tonight are like contacting like Aiden Ross or something, and they're like, you got to do a celebratory stream for Nico Hülkenberg's podium.
You got to stream on Kick with Nico Hülkenberg.
He's going to show up and do like a gambling stream with Drake.
It's going to be incredibly problematic, and then we're going to have to cancel Nico Hülkenberg.
I genuinely, what's so I just was like struck with like, this is like that type of story that they make a sports movie about. Like I was like, this should have been the F1 movie.
F1 movie, yeah.
Like it was like such a beautiful like sports story because they were like talking to all these people in the paddock and like the commentators were like, I drove with Nico when I was in F1. I'm now retired and do commentating. And they're like, I never thought I'd see the day. And like everybody was like, it's never that he wasn't good enough for a podium. And that was the most frustrating part, is that like he should have like 50 podiums and like 5 race wins minimum. And it just never happened for him. And I almost think like that's, what kind of fucking generational curse did this man have that is finally broken? What did he do? Honestly, we need to dig in the Nico Hülkenberg archives into this man's career. There's
he pissed off a witch or something long ago.
But it's glad to know that it's broken now. Just to add icing on the cake. I mean, of course, I was crying. I was crying a little bit at home.
Sure.
And then I really started like being like, I was so struck by it when I realized he had no idea what to do on a podium. Like he walks in the cool down room and you see Lando carry in his helmet. And he goes, oh, was I supposed to grab that and bring that in here? He doesn't even know how to be in the cool down room. He's looking around like, oh shit, this is kind of nice. You guys,
these are some fuck ass chairs. You guys are right.
you guys hanging out here every weekend. This is nice. And then he like goes out on the podium and he's like, okay, so is now like the champagne part? And they're like, yeah, champagne. And he's like, whoa.
Sick.
Crazy. Because I imagine he doesn't even watch the podium celebrations. I mean, what business does he have doing that?
Yeah. Debriefing on P19.
Whatever Steak Sauber's going through that weekend.
Yeah.
I don't know. And then, of course, Kevin Magnussen was there. He was there to scared straight Ollie Behrman, but then he was in the steak garage. And they kind of cut to him. And everybody else is like screaming and crying and throwing up. And he just gives a little... like he never stopped believing in him.
God.
Is there a
Hallmark
better...
wishes?
Yes. No, literally. Is there a better enemies to lovers story in the entire world than Nico and Kevin? I can't think of one. I cannot think of one. Wow. That's beautiful. And then Steak Sauber did not have any champagne to celebrate with. So all of the other teams started delivering champagne. And I'm not going to lie, that party looked lit.
Mercedes brought some over, and I was like, oh, frick, that's really nice.
That's really nice. And they were like playing like crazy. There was like a video of like him FaceTiming his daughters, or his like wife and daughter, and there's like crazy loud house music playing. It is a full-blown like party in the paddock. Like they didn't even bother going to a club. They're like, well, yeah, we're gonna do it right here. And apparently Max Verstappen was like, oh, yeah, like, we usually fly home together. I'm just going to wait for tomorrow when Nico's done celebrating.
Aww.
He's like, the plane will be held till tomorrow.
That's cute.
Nico's going to lose his shit. I think of it as, like, after Checo won Monaco, and the next day you saw pictures of him being dragged off a yacht, drunk as hell. I can't wait for those pictures to drop of Nico. Cannot wait. Please post. Whoever snaps those pics.
Please.
He's probably in the back of like a hauler trailer right now because they had to pack up the motorhome and he's still in there partying. And they actually packed him up.
He's in the packed up motorhome.
Yeah. And they're going to be like, has anybody seen him for like a day or two?
Dude.
Wow. So, any more thoughts on F1? Oh, one more thing. Lewis apparently had no GPS back to the Ferrari pit wall. They continue to just share things after the race about why they suck that I'm just like, it's like, what works in the car specifically?
At a certain point, it's like, keep it to yourself. Like, you have all these issues. Share? I don't care. I saw the product. Like, I don't need to know all these little, like, it's not going to make me feel worse for you. Also, you finished in the top 10. I don't care. You're fine.
He finished 4th.
That's almost podium. Podium is 1, 2, and 3, so he was really close.
I think that they share it as like a way to like call off the Twitter fans to be like, stop yelling at us. We didn't have GPS. Stop. But in reality, it's like kind of to me, I'm just like, so weird how none of the other teams have these problems every weekend.
And whose responsibility is it for your team to have GPS? Is it Mercedes? Is it Red Bull?
Or do you guys think that maybe you could figure it out? No, every weekend there's some weird ass excuse. They honestly start to sound fake. Like in Canada, they were like, actually, Lewis ran over a groundhog and he had floor damage. And that's why he sucked so bad. I'm like, oh, for fuck's sake, come up with a better lie. I don't believe you. That sounds so ridiculous.
Oh, please. I'm tired of them. I'm tired of Ferrari.
This is the halfway point of the F1 season. Are you tired of the F1 season, or do you have any other opinions about F1? We're at the halfway point. I know. It feels like it's been 10 years.
There's still 11 more races to go. 12? 12 more races? Wow.
It's a 24 race season, my love.
That's a lot of weekends if you think about it.
What are your big takeaways? What are your big takeaways on the season so far?
I think I'm a little bit more excited now that there is kind of an accidental championship battle. I think that's kind of fun.
I didn't like
I'm a little excited because, like, if this is how he was getting paid too, imagine how he could be if he got, like, 3rd one weekend or something and Lando won. But also, I think Lando's doing a great job. And everyone who said that he was never going to win a driver's championship, I hope you're eating your freaking words. I've always believed in Lando. I love the color neon yellow. Me and all the middle school boys in 2008 love the color neon yellow. And I always have. And I think it looks good on everybody. And I'm happy for Lando. Basically, he already won the World Drivers' Championship. Do you think... Sorry, wait. Mm-hmm. You don't have to respond to that. I think we should stay friends. Do you think if one of them wins this year, which I'm not big on numbers, but it does look like it's going to definitely be one of those two, the other one will leave after this season? You don't think so? You don't think if Oscar wins over Lando, Lando's not going to be like, what are they offering Max for Mercedes? Do you think anyone's going to want Lando?
If Lando loses to Oscar, no. Because, like, I believe it to be, like, Lando is McLaren's guy. And if he can't win a championship at the team where he's the guy that was supposed to win the championship, then the other teams are going to be like, well, you can't win one here either. Yeah. Whereas, like, if Oscar... Also, Lando is actually old as dirt, okay? He's, like, basically, like, washed up. He's this, like, what, 26 now? Like, get real. You're basically washed.
Definitely younger than us.
No, he's, like, born the same year as me. Maybe he has a
He's
later in the year
25.
birthday. Maybe he has a later
Yeah,
year.
because isn't he a
in the year birthday.
Sagittarius?
You're like not fucking breaking. You're totally a Lando fan. It's so disgusting.
I've told you I've always loved Lando. Name one time I've ever said anything that would make you think that I don't love Lando.
Here's my thing as like an Oscar fan. Okay, I'm biased. I don't care. Oh, I want a non-biased podcast. Go to a different one. I don't want a championship battle. Why would I want a championship battle? Oscar's leading. I think he should continue to lead. And I think Lando should continue to not lead. That's what I want from this season.
I don't know. It's just, there's something about waking up on a Sunday morning and being like, wow, this is a consequential F1 race, you know? It doesn't happen often.
I don't
Maybe
like
twice.
the consequences. I don't like the consequences.
Yeah, well, I would be saying that too if my favorite driver, Lando Norris, was leading the championship. Is he not leading it? How many points do you get if you win a race? 25?
There's still 8. Oscar's up by 8 points. Well, it's because whenever Lando wins, Oscar gets second. Whereas when Oscar wins, Lando's in like 17th, like fucking battling demons we didn't even know existed. Like when like Lando crashes out, he crashes out. Whereas Oscar, he crashes out, but then still gets P2, which is probably so frustrating for Lando. He's probably like,
I'm sure that.
Why are you here again? You got a 10-second penalty. What do you mean? What do you mean you're here in second place?
What's the next race? The Belgian GP?
Spa. We're going to a spa weekend.
Oh my
Spa.
god. It's
What,
one
you
of
don't
the
like that
6
joke?
jokes that F1 fans know.
Yeah.
Not risky with their comedy. Very inconsequential. Something to think about.
I don't know. I don't want there to be consequences. I don't want there to be a battle. I want Oscar to win and confirm what we already knew, that he is World Drivers' Championship
I want him to
material.
win. No, I want him to win. I want Oscar to win. But I do want something to tune in for.
Because you say that because you don't have to deal with like, because you don't ever watch TikTok content about F1. Okay, let's get serious here. Let's get real.
I do, but when I see someone start while wearing an Oscar shirt or wearing a Lando shirt, I put my thinking cap on and I go, whatever they're going to say, I'm not going to want to hear. And I scroll onto my baking videos and I go, let's watch someone frost a cake while I cool down for a minute.
See, my problem is I kind of watch it and then I go, wow, this is the dumbest shit I've ever heard.
You gotta just not
We can't
engage.
survive. We can't survive a championship battle in this day and age. The F1 fans aren't built for it. We've only known Max Verstappen. The thought that Max Verstappen is not going to be wearing the number 1 next year and is going to have to go back to 33 is enough to make me want to puke, okay? That's not a world I know to exist in anymore. We're not built for a fucking championship battle. We almost broke down last year when Lando was like 60 points away.
Who is we?
The fucking F1 community.
No, they're so dramatic. You gotta ignore them. Just ignore the F1 community. It's all about us. It's this. It's just this.
Look at me,
It's
Andrea.
just
We're
this.
not like this.
We're not like...
We're not built to be torn apart in this way. Well, if there's one thing I love, it's consistency and no championship battles. Let's move on to IndyCar.
Speaking of no championship battles, let's move on to IndyCar.
I'll let you lead the IndyCar stuff when we get to the race. But before the race, we had Java House became a sponsor of the Laguna Seca race. Have you tried any of Java House's products?
Can I ask a question about Java House?
Absolutely.
Is it just one Java House? Or is it a chain?
It's a chain apparently in mainly the Indianapolis area, but you can also order their products off of Amazon.
The intranet. So, is there a Java House in Laguna Seca?
No, I think they're telling people in Laguna Seca to order their stuff off the internet.
Okay. That's all right.
Have you had a Java House product?
I do not drink coffee.
They don't have just coffee, girl.
Anything. I don't drink anything besides ginger ale and water.
Well, if you guys have never been to an IndyCar race, there is usually a Java House stand at each IndyCar race. They're an ECR sponsor. So when I was at the IMS for the sponsoring, or for the filming of Christian Rasmussen. I said, we're going to just take some pictures. Hold on. I was like, I'm going to go drink some of their products. And it's actually a very interesting idea. You just get like concentrate and you just pour it in water. So it's like little pods.
Isn't that essentially what, those little pods are that you put in your Keurig, but then it just makes it hot?
No. Those little pods are actually coffee grounds, and you're making coffee. These are like liquid coffee already made, concentrated, and then you pour it into water. And they also make Kool-Aid. Tea. No. Correct. No, they're like Mio drops. They're like those little Mio drops.
Oh, I fuss heavy with the Mio drops.
Yeah, but they're coffee. And then they also have tea. And they also have like a liquid IV sort of situation. And then they also have, they have espresso martinis there, and they just give them out. And I got like crunk off of one espresso martini. I was like, did you guys water this one down? I don't think you guys watered this one down. But I also have a super low alcohol tolerance. It tasted like straight alcohol. I was like, this is crazy. You're serving this to the public
in the
here
middle
at IMS.
Of the day.
Yeah. And of course, Celine was like, let me get a second one. But yeah, I don't know. It's a very interesting concept for a product, I have to admit. And I love their commercials with the exception of Danica Patrick being there. I wish she wasn't. Me generally when Danica Patrick is places. Okay. Then also we had a Marcus Ericsson team switch up. I never really fully understood what was happening here. Did you?
He got a new engineer. They thought it'd make him better.
And it did not. Right. Nolan Siegel also got a little switch up on his team, but I thought this already happened.
I don't know. All the days shift together. This was his first race with him, though.
So he wasn't there for the famed penalty?
No, that was actually, they had just announced it, and he said Penske can go fuck themselves, and then they had to wheel that back, and then they go, and guess what? Kyle Moyer is gonna be here.
And if you're wondering his first who race. Kyle Moyer is, who's Kyle Moyer?
He was the, I think, general manager of Penske. He was a victim of the Penske firings earlier in the year. Maybe that's a crazy way to say it.
The Penske firings of 2025.
So he was one of the guys who got let go. And I would bet your bottom dollar we will see the other two men who were let go from Penske around the paddock.
Oh my gosh. Soon. Where do you think Austin Cindric's dad is going?
I have some ideas, but...
What are they? Do you think you can share them on our podcast that we have about IndyCar?
No,
do you think our audience that listens specifically for our IndyCar takes?
You'll just have to tune in every single week until it's announced, and then I can go, I knew it. We all knew this was coming.
So frustrating. Okay, and then Penske, of course, had their own situation where they did the great firings of 2025. Thus, they needed to do the great hirings of 2025. Who did they hire?
They hired, oh Lord, Jonathan.
Whatever his last name is.
I couldn't even begin to pronounce it, and I haven't heard anybody say it. I'll come back to it. And then Travis Law. So Jonathan D as president, and then Travis Law as competition director. And I believe they brought them over from Porsche Penske, or from like their sports car side. So they've been in it's not just like fresh off the press hirings. They've been
they just hire like fresh out of college grads.
They're on Indeed going, do you want to run Penske?
It's like literally just some kid who just graduated from like University of Indiana Bloomington, and they're like, congratulations, you're the president of Penske Entertainment.
Penske. It's just
the Penske team. Yeah, it's a Penske. Yeah, it's an internship. It's a little summer internship you do. You run Penske.
Good luck.
Rats. Well, it's not looking too good for your first week on the job, guys.
What a time to,
because we could talk about practicing. What
practice?
They were practicing. I'll let you run this.
Practice. We had a lot of people just like getting a tire in the grass and then just like going for a little spin. It happened quite a few times. The most notable happened a lot, but most notable is we had David Malukas, who had a heavy shunt in practice 1, had damage, and then Marcus Ericsson in practice 2 also had damage, but was able to fix it. Oh, something else. Marcus Ericsson had a sponsor this week, which was Fox Sports. And I think that's very fun and exciting. I think it's funny that he was sponsored by Fox Sports and then Kyle Kirkwood was sponsored by Honda. And I was like, this is a little on the nose for Andretti. But along with the cool car we got was also this demon man who was walking around. His name was Cletus, spelled Cleatus. I think it's a play on like cleats for football. And he was, oh my God, maybe
scary.
The scariest transformer I had ever seen.
Yeah, no, that's no better way to put it. We had boots on the ground of Celine, Gracie, and Marley. And we were like, if you guys see him, like, send us pictures. And they saw him. They sent us pictures of him looking directly into their camera. From,
he like, doesn't have eyes.
100 yards away. And I was like, hey, delete this picture.
You gotta, clench your phone, get rid of it. But he doesn't have, like, I don't like it. Anyways, I just want to point that out there.
You can tell he's looking at you. That's what's freaky about it.
You can feel it, eyes. Like, in your heart. You're like, I'm being watched by Cletus. We did not to be IndyCar fans did not ask for this.
No.
Whenever they bring Cletus around. Anywho, I just wanted to speak my truth. And then we have another.
I'm not done with this. I think Marcus Ericsson was also deeply disturbed by Cletus because at the pre-race show they had Jack Harvey come over and do a little like, "Ooh, you're sponsored by Fox. We're on Fox right now. Oh, and look, Cletus is here." And Marcus is just standing next to Cletus, and he's like, do you want to do a fist bump? And I was like, oh, he does not like Cletus. He wants him to
fuck
leave.
With Cletus.
I wonder if that's like something where they talked about with all the Andretti boys. And they were like, okay, we're like trying to figure out who's going to do the Fox livery. You do have to be okay with Cletus. And both Kyle and Colin were like, I'm not fucking standing near that thing. There's no amount of money you could pay me.
Yeah, no, thank you. I would. I wonder if Fox would have preferred to be on Kyle Kirkwood, but they're like, it'd be really weird if we were on a winner's car, so we should just go on Marcus's car. That sounds really mean when I say it like that, but I wonder if they were like, well, I don't want them to feel like this is all like rigged or some big
Well, if they don't want to pick a winner, they could have picked Colton.
Well, but Colton and Gamebridge are like, have you ever seen Colton run a different livery than Gamebridge?
What's going on there? Is Colton like their Caitlin Clark? You know what I mean?
Yeah. She actually signed the car. Like, genuinely.
Yeah, and I think that they were like, okay, we have two athletes that we have to kind of fuck with forever. And they chose Caitlin Clark and Colton Herta, and they were like, one of these is paying off more than the other.
Truly. They do kind of also look alike, which is something we can talk about later. But it's just something I thought about.
They have the same haircut. That's so cute.
They do. And then we had an incident in practice 2, which was insane. Like, I assumed it was qualifying the way that, okay, so Santino Ferrucci, essentially what happened was the cars were kind of going slower on the track because they were trying to build a gap, obviously, to whoever was in front of them so that they could get a clean lap, as they do in every single practice forever since the beginning of time.
Always.
Forever. And this is a conversation we have, like, every race where it's like we go too slow and it's like, yeah, there's a lot of cars out there, like it sucks that they go too slow. I don't know like what you want me to do. But so Santino Ferrucci, who was behind like 5 or 6 cars, got the bright idea to like, I'm gonna put the pedal to the metal and I'm gonna weave around them. And he goes around them, and as he's like the last person he's passing, I believe it was Joseph Newgarden, Joseph didn't know it was coming.
Almost ate it.
Yeah, I mean, could have easily been one of the worst wrecks we've ever seen. But the broadcast was talking about IndyCar does not police practice. And they're like, this is a great example of maybe, which is why Will Power gets away with the atrocities towards Kyle Kirkwood.
All of the things he does during practice. He always does crazy shit during practice. And he goes, they're not policing rats.
What are the rules for practice? None? The rules are none? But the broadcast was essentially like, this is one of the reasons maybe we should start policing practice, but IndyCar's not going to police practice until it's too late. And it was really nice to hear that they were on our side for once. That they weren't like, well, what? I mean, they were going really slow. I think Ferrucci should have gone around him.
Usually when Santino Ferrucci does something fucking crazy, they always go, what are you going to do about that kid? And I was like, well, he got kicked out of F2 for being crazy.
Unfortunately, I'm an Italian American. And motorsports is a very emotional sport.
No, I literally am like, he keeps getting away with it because you guys keep being like, oh, ha, ha, ha. Ferrucci's so funny. While the drivers are like, oh, okay, so we're just endangering lives now. Cool. They kind of do the same thing with willpower, later. With love. With love.
Well, the thing with willpower,
I think it's funnier when he does it.
Sure. Agreed.
He's a better character than Santino.
It's not so blatantly apparent that it's like someone very easily could have died here. His incident with Kyle Kirkwood, that was probably the closest I've ever been to like, hey, we're pushing very dangerous territory. Yeah. But like this was just, I'm blatantly stupid. Like what a stupid decision by him. But keep that in your back pocket. And then we also had Will Power, who wanted to throw down with Alex Palou. He was walking over super heated after, I believe this was also free practice too. Of course, the one time I can't watch free practice and qualifying live, they're like,
apparently everything goes down.
We're gonna juice these sessions. But he was upset with Alex Palou for, I think, impeding. And Alex Palou had idea.
Impeding in practice?
Well, and you know how sensitive, as we've just said, willpower is about impeding in practice, you know? So this is on character for him, which I do appreciate. But Alex Palou, like, he turns to look at him, and it's just a clip of Willpower, like, coming up, got the finger in the face. And you can tell Willpower is like, I'm just, not, like, I'm sorry you feel this way. I'm just not sure what you're talking about. And he even goes, like, you should probably talk to my spotter then. Like, I don't know. Like, I don't know what happened.
What you're yelling at me about. My favorite part is Willpower is, like, generating his own conversation with a man who's not responding. And he was like, and you know how I move people out of the way when they get in my way. So you better watch it. And Alex Palou is like, once again, have no idea what we're talking about. And he's like, I thought you would say that you would have no idea what you're talking about. And here's the response I already cooked up for that, buddy. And he's like just going on this crazy tangent.
Some of these like more veteran drivers are just kind of like, you just gotta let him say what he's gotta say. Like, just let him get it out. And then tomorrow, when we come back for a race day, we're gonna do a little bit where we pretend to fight each other, but we're actually good.
No, I think that those bits are so funny because I always am like, somebody's behind the camera holding a gun to Alex Palou to do this little bit because it's like you literally just got yelled at by this like erratic old erratic old man, not erotic. I don't look at Willpower that way. Whoa, oops! This erratic old man. He comes at you, just starts yelling at you, and then the next day he comes at you also in a fast pace. But in like a I'm over it type of way.
It's like a joke. I'm not fully convinced it's not him who has these ideas. Because do you remember the full photo shoot he did with David Malukas after Gateway last year?
And David was probably like, no, so you did yell at me like after I crashed and I was really sad because it was like my home race and I was really excited because I just came back from his injury and then you yelled at me and then I cried on live TV. But yeah, sure, we're fine, I guess.
Yeah, no, let's do a little photo shoot. But I don't know. I can't be that mad at Will because I know it's truly just like he has to get it out and then he'll be fine. Like he's super hot in the moment. He always comes back to be like, I was pretty crazy I did that. And actually, I'm sorry.
the like fucking scootering over to the Andretti garage and be like, put on my bill. Sorry.
Send me the check.
That's crazy. But yeah, he comes over and he like is pretending to throw punches at Alex Palou. And Alex Palou is like, oh, this is what we're doing. Okay. Yeah, that's crazy.
I love Willpower. There is just something about him where I'm like, what is he going to do next? It's entertaining.
It is entertaining. But all right. What happened in qualifying?
That wraps up practice. Qualifying, here are just some spark notes from it. I should have written this down. But Group 2 was stacked, which happens sometimes in IndyCar qualifying, and I just feel like we don't talk about it enough. But so go into qualifying knowing that Group 2 was stacked. Group 1, Pato O'Ward obviously didn't make it out. Like, he was alive. He just didn't make it out of
so Group 1 is the one. The Group 1 is the one that you were saying is not stacked. And yet the person who is an A-lister in Group 1 did not make it out of Group 1.
Yeah, it wasn't as heavily stacked as the second one. He didn't make it out, so that does make me feel like mayhaps, I don't know, maybe something happened. It's hard to tell. Lundgaard did make it out of round one, and then so did Nolan Siegel. In fact, they made it all the way to the Firestone Fast Six, which, side tangent, the voice that they used for the Firestone Fast Six announcement is the same voice they used to use for Minute to Win It back on Fox in the 2000s. Did you like that fun fact? Be sure to rate it. Read it in the comments below. Anywhoozy. Christian started on the first row. Nolan Siegel started...
Why do you look like you're about to cry? I don't know. Never watched Minute to Win It. I don't know the joke because I never watched that show.
It's not a joke. It's just something that I figured out by watching them say it. I know this.
Google it?
Voice. No, I know it for a fact.
Whatever.
It's a Fox voice. Anywhoozy, Christian Lundgaard started on the front row in P2. Nolan Siegel started P4. And once again, the question of, like, what's up at Aero McLaren?
Anyways, back to Kiffin Simpson, who we've been praising recently.
Who we've been praising because he's been, like, going out for ice cream with Scott Dixon, and it's clear something's clicking at Chip Ganassi. He made it to the Firestone Fast Six as well, starting P3, which is his not fastest ever starting, his highest ever starting position in a race. And something very special about Nolan and Kiffin is they both kept a sticker set of softs, which sounds like a really big deal and was really played to us as a big deal. And we later found out that no one knew if this was going to be a Reds race or a black tire race. Nobody knew. So they were feeding us all that. And for what is my question? Louis Foster also proved that the shaving of the mustache wasn't a fluke, or that the mustache wasn't a fluke.
How the mustache was back already? I didn't know how long it would take to grow that out.
Well, it's because he's got those genes. I don't know. But even, like, the week after he had shaved it off, he was on the Speed Street podcast, and I was like, how did you do that? How is it back so quick? How is it already here?
I don't know.
But he was able to...
Sound off in the comments. How long does it take to grow a mustache? I thought, like, 3 weeks. I don't know anything. I actually think I'm realizing as I say that out loud, because 3 weeks does sound like a lot of time, so I don't know why I thought it would take
3 weeks is a lot of time. Maybe.
Anyway.
I don't know. But Louis Foster started P6. He made it all the way to the Firestone Fast Six. So, as Graham Rahal was saying earlier this week, those cars can qualify. Not Graham, but that car could. And then Alex Palou,
do we want to talk about that?
On pole. It's just so dumb.
For some reason, IndyCar posted a video from, I don't even know. What was this?
I think it was an interview with I think it was an interview with Bob Pockris, who is a Fox Sports writer for IndyCar. So I think that's why they posted it.
Bob, you don't have to interview Graham Rahal. We don't care what he has to say. With love. He basically just gets mad at everything. And he's like, why does nobody talk about how good I am?
He's like, I'm sick and tired. He was like, I'm sick and tired of people saying that, like, I'm only in the sport because of my dad, that I can't actually drive or whatever. And then he kind of made the suggestion that he can drive because, like, look at these cars in qualifying. Like, the cars can qualify. Like, I can qualify. But that's kind of a crazy point, right, considering where did he finish this weekend? I don't know. It's clear that there is some frustration happening in the Rahal camp, and I don't think frustration needs to be let out via the internet.
Well, what's
crazy
is that
it's fake news anyways.
This is a collab post with IndyCar on Fox on Instagram, and all of the comments were then like, oh, let me elaborate on why I don't think Graham Rahal can drive. Thanks for posting this. This is a great place for me to sound off on how much I hate Graham Rahal. And I was like, this is the craziest clip to post.
It's like one of those things where simply nobody is entertaining the Graham Rahal conversation. Like, genuinely, the only time we talk about even the RLLs in general is when they're in the top. Because they've had so many issues, like, when they're in the top six, when they make it to Firestone Fast Six, because it's crazy to see them there. But, like, the cars have issues every weekend, and I would be a little bit thankful that nobody's talking about them, because you don't want me to start sounding off about, like, what the fuck is going on with the RLOs? But that's besides the point. He made all those comments and then just didn't perform well in the race. Like, I don't know, fork found in kitchen. What do you want?
Anywho.
So we get started with the race. Funnily enough, actually, Graham Rahal has one here, but it wasn't like 10 years ago. We've had nine winners? Nine winners on the current grid.
Well, guess I learned that from your preview video on Above the Yellow Line Media YouTube channel, which is probably going to be in our show notes, so you guys could probably check it out there if you guys want, and I'll probably post one this week about Iowa.
Yeah, she's going to be posting about Iowa. I'm very excited. But so the race starts, and one of our previous winners, he's actually won here twice, Joseph Newgarden on the start, his rear locks. It was really weird to watch. He also couldn't really explain what happens. But so he locked up, starts to spin, and he collects Rahal, Power, Ilott, and maybe Devlin DeFrancesco. I never got confirmation, and the more times I watched it, I was less sure. DeFrancesco's issues could have just been because he was in an RLL. But he hit the wall pretty hard, and unfortunately had to get out of the car. They took him back, he had to get out of it, and he did eventually get back in it, like 1,000 laps down. But not... Notice. Yeah, he did for a little bit. It doesn't matter, he still finished in the back. But I don't know, I'm starting to feel for Joseph Newgarden, because he's a good driver. It's just...
Well, have you considered he's actually a dirty cheat?
Right, he did cheat. He's the only Penske driver that cheated, apparently. I don't know. People are being...
Everybody keeps coming back to that. I've noticed that in the IndyCar community lately. Everybody comes back to hating Joseph Newgarden for the cheating thing. And I'm like, I still don't think that that's why he's doing that bad this season. I don't think the rear attenuator had all of this karma.
It wasn't the rear attenuator. It wasn't push to pass last year, the first race. But, it does kind of shake things up a little bit when you do fire, when you do just absolutely gut the higher-ups in your team. Mm-hmm. So, give them a little grace. But,
Can I be honest? It's been interesting this year in IndyCar having a Penske team that is so unthreatening.
It's weird.
It's literally like every week. It's like, well, this is a track that... Same with Andretti. Like, with the exception of, like, Kyle Kirkwood every once in a while. They're like, this is a track that Andretti has always won at. Or this is a track that Penske has always won at. And then we're like, okay, well, they're not here right now. They're not present with us at the moment. So, like, who's going to win now? Turns out the answer is usually Chip Ganassi. Turns out they're really good at IndyCar.
Oh, crazy. What a year for Chip Ganassi. If you had told me at the beginning of the season that I was going to be trying to figure out how many of the Penskes were going to DNF every race, I would be like, what? This is my dream. But actually, it's very sad. And I'm not having a good time.
I feel like I kind of, now that it's gone, I realize how much I miss it. Like, I wouldn't label myself as like a Joseph Newgarden fan, but I miss him. I wish him well. I wish he could fight in these races and make them interesting.
It's just like, how different would this season be? And I'm not saying Alex Palou wouldn't have won all the races that he won, because clearly
would have.
He's a killer in this car. But he might have had a little bit more competition if his only competition wasn't Scott Dixon or Kyle Kirkwood. Like, if he was fighting Joseph Newgarden, Will Power,
Scotty Mac.
Scott.
The other Scott. No, how do you say his last name? Specifically, his last name, MJ. How do you say it?
Scott McLaughlin. But I always say McLaughlin. That's my bad. Sometimes people grow up and they just can't read too well. And that's what I suffer from. Yeah. Fair. Do you feel bad for making fun of me now?
I do, but I don't think reading is the issue. I think it's just some silent letters that you were putting more emphasis on.
Interesting. Right. Everyone remember that. Add that to the reasons we're going to break up. Yes, so Joseph Newgarden, obvious issues. And then we had a restart, and this was where we got a little bit of a Christian Lundgaard-Simpson battle. Simpson did get out ahead of Christian Lundgaard, I think, in the first few laps when we were dealing with Joseph. And so there was a little bit of a battle. Christian Lundgaard ended up taking it back from him, but there was a moment where my heart was beating with a lot of pride, and I was going, you defend against him, Kiffin. Do not give him your position.
I think that Kiffin System has like a very important like plan in these races, which is just to follow in front of his more experienced teammate and just literally take the exact same racing line and go the same speed as them. So when there's like another car in the middle, he's like, you're going to fuck with my whole plan for today.
This is going to be an issue, I fear.
How can I just follow whatever Alex Palou's doing if you're in between us? It's not going to work.
I would be shaking in my boots, but I was a little excited to see Christian Lundgaard in P2 because the conversation about Honda versus Chevy, there is not. Have you noticed we have not had that? We really haven't been talking about it, and it's because Chevy isn't here yet. They haven't gotten here yet. But we'll talk more on that later.
Maybe they'll come next year.
Maybe. Unfortunately, a little bit after that, we had Will Power, who was on fire in the pits. That is a second Penske down.
Will Flower, and it's him when he's being peaceful.
Yeah,
Will Power when he fights in the post-practice session, and then Will Flower when he comes the next day and says, I'm sorry.
Inside him are two wolves, and apparently it's those ones. Yeah, but he DNFs. That was... Okay, I don't know. I'm starting to feel really bad for Penske. I didn't think this is where we were going to be this year.
I think Lab Stout has lost their way. You know what I mean? Like, at the beginning of the year, like, we were having so much fun being like, yeah, look, Penske, get them, girls. And now we're like, aw, I think we're beating up on them a little too much.
It used to feel more like when we were like, frickin' Penske. It felt like we were sticking it to the man, you know? We were speaking for the people. But boy, have we seen them fall from grace. And now it's like... Now I feel like I'm punching down a little bit. And you know how we feel about that on the Laps Down podcast.
Hate it.
Hate that. Around lap 20, we start to realize that some are preferring to go... Because, once again, we don't really know if this is a red tire race or a black tire race. But some are preferring to run the black tires and just allow fuel to burn so that the car is lighter, and then they start being really effective on the black tires, versus some people who are clearly preferring the red tires, like the Chip Ganassi's were really preferring the red tires. I know the Aero McLarens had said that they weren't very good on the primaries, so they were also preferring the red tires. And then we had Colton Herta, who was on the black tires, putting in laps like a whole second faster, not a whole second, a whole 10th of a second faster than Alex Palou, who was leading. So we're like, all right, Colton Herta win? Incoming?
No, never. If you ever think that it's a Colton Herta win incoming, you've made a mistake.
Clearly, he hasn't pitted yet. That's why you're still thinking that. Mm-hmm. But we're also having the conversation of, is it going to be a 2-stop or a 3-stop? And it was very clear that Alex Palou was not confident in doing a 2-stop. However, it was very clear that one Mr. Scott Dixon was very confident in doing a 2-stop. And so he had been, while Alex Palou is out front, putting in qualifying laps. I mean, my man he's scooting. Scott Dixon is fuel saving. And boy, you don't want him to do that.
Honestly, if I'm a driver and I see Scott Dixon is fuel saving, I'm probably going to start fuel saving. I'm going to be like, he knows something. He knows something.
There's something happening. So the leaders pit. Most of them were on reds, pit for black tires. And then Scott Dixon, he pits. And then almost immediately after, we get a yellow flag. Mm-hmm. Huge news for Scott Dixon fans. But the yellow flag was Christian Rasmussen went off, and then ECR came out and said, oh, we just didn't get enough fuel in it.
Yeah, so he went off because he ran out of fuel.
He ran out of fuel. And then also... IndyCar refused to, bring Christian Rasmussen back to the pits to be able to refuel, which was kind of odd.
He kind of, went off specifically by a place where, the AMR safety team and the tow trucks were, because he was like, oh, okay, cool. If I can just get there, they'll, tow me back. I can put fuel in. Maybe I'll be, a couple laps down, but, we can make something happen here. And they were just, looking at him. They were just looking at him.
they pulled him behind the wall and then didn't really do anything with him. But I was like, you already called the yellow. Like, you might as well just take him back. He eventually did. I think he was like, 35 laps down? He did get out for a few laps. Whether or not he had issues after that, I don't know. I had assumed because he had that penalty today because of an engine change after Iowa, because apparently his engine at Iowa went kaput. So I was like, uh-oh, maybe no more engines for ACR. But thankfully, it was just that they forgot to put fuel in it. Sure.
Well, you texted me and you said, why won't they tow him back? Because Ed Carpenter got very sassy on the broadcast, and he was like, they just refuse to. And I was like, what's going on here? And you texted me and you said, what's going on here? And then I said, maybe it's because he's not a Honda at the Honda race. They're scared of the power he holds in that number 21 Splenda Chevy. And they won't let him back on track. Thoughts, MJ?
They were like, if we are going to be defeated by a Chevy this year, it's sure as hell going to be that American flag Splenda car. We can't have that.
Yeah, not one of the Aero McLarens or anything like that. It'll be the P2. Number 21.
I get it. I'm kind of scared of Christian Rasmussen too, especially when he's out there in the car. Scary stuff. But during
what did you think of their little? I know you want to talk about the race, but like whatever.
Sure,
what did you think of the little? Yeah. What did you think of the little pre-race segment that they did with Louis Foster and David Malukas and Christian Rasmussen?
It was. I think this week more than ever, I've understood when the older NASCAR fans are like, this clearly isn't for my generation anymore. Because between the meme where they were like doing like the boat thing that both David Malukas and Robert Schwartzman did, and then this where I was like trying to keep up, but I was like, what are they saying? I'm not that much older than them either.
I think that this one was like just to like give people like, oh, they're people with personality traits.
Yeah, but could we have not done it at like... Yeah,
what are you confused by?
On screen, Andrea is showing this meme that Robert Schwartzman did where he was coming down the paddock and he was like standing up in his car as his team was... That's gonna get in trouble. Well, his team was pushing him and he's like doing this little dance. And apparently it's a meme on TikTok and I just haven't gotten there yet. Right.
Can we aura farm
Another thing
Iowa?
I don't know what that means. We do have farming here. Mostly pigs.
Honestly, I think like you and I just like existing is kind of aura farming. If you guys like want to like put like a hype ass song behind us, just like doing stuff, that's aura farming.
Do not.
What? I'm just pitching an aura farming edit. What?
But what I was gonna say is, I like all three of those drivers, but watching it did kind of make my brain like buzz and away because I'm like, they're talking too fast. They're talking about things I don't understand. Louis Foster just said his childhood crush was Megan Fox in 2003. I'm not even convinced he was alive in 2003.
No, I don't think he was alive. And then the person sitting next to me said, how old was Megan Fox in 2003? And I was like, that's a great question too. Because what if she like wasn't even of age?
Well, I think that was when the Transformers movie came out.
No, that would be like 2008.
Yeah, so what was he seeing that Megan Fox was in 2003? Or maybe he was just saying when he was alive in 2003.
She was 17. She was 17 years old in 2003.
Yeah, but he wasn't alive. So is there an issue?
Jail. You're going
he wasn't
to jail,
alive.
Foster.
No, he's not because he said it was his childhood crush specifically.
How did he?
Who was your childhood crush?
I only had, oh my God, I had such an embarrassing crush on Benedict Cumberbatch in the Sherlock series. And that's like a really big, like, hear me out when you're like 13. You know what I mean?
That's
like,
a hard one.
Yeah, you're like, no. I know he's wearing peacoats. I think that's something though. You know what I mean?
Gasoline.
We should keep an eye on it. I also was like really big into Edward Cullen. Yeah.
Solid choices.
And Peeta Mellark.
That's a good one too. I think my childhood crush was Danny Phantom or anyone from the Outsiders movie. Anyone.
She's the whole cat. Yep. Anyone. Yep. Yeah, I don't really think I had like crushes until I was like in middle school. Really, when people talk about like childhood crush, I was like it wasn't until like I was like 13 where I was like, boys are annoying, but sometimes they have dazzling blue eyes.
There could be something there.
They're really irritating, but they're dazzling me right now. I'm gonna be honest. I'm being dazzled.
That's real. But that's the segment that they did before IndyCar. And
anyways,
trying to wrap it back to
the race. Sorry,
how did we get here?
Simpson, Giffen.
Under that yellow, everyone who had pitted the first round pits again. It just was so clear that this first round of people who pit, besides like Pato O'Ward, like Kyle Kirkwood was in that group, other people were also in that group. It just like really wasn't ever going to work out for them. Like genuinely, lovingly.
That race was over for you guys. So sorry that happened.
Besides Pato, which it kind of this is one of the issues of us recording like 2 hours after the race is like I can't look into what happened to Pato. There simply hasn't been enough time for somebody to figure it out for him to come on a TikTok and be like,
he hasn't
hey guys,
like a crazy statement yet.
Everybody in front of me not doing a good job. I don't know. But Kiffin Simpson randomly just starts to bleed spots. He was in like P3. I look down to write Kiffin Simpson in P3 in my notes, and they go, how did he get back to P7? And I go, well, gosh, guys, you're the one watching the race. You tell me.
Do inform me.
But he apparently radioed in and said that he was loose. Okay. And the car magically fixed itself because then he kind of got back after it. However, his race was ended. I just put this here. It happens later in the race because he gets a drive-through penalty for he had a pit stop. He was on the same pit strategy as Scott Dixon, I think, and he stalls in his pit box. The crowd says. Happens. Restarts it with the hybrid, which that's allowed now. And then
is it allowed, MJ?
I think it is. I do.
Colton heard now like a word.
Colton, dude, all of the freaking interviews last year where he would just go, I just didn't know it was a rule. I don't know, maybe.
They're like, Colton, how many times have we done this? You gotta stop restarting yourself in the pit lane with the hybrid.
Then what's it here for? But so he gets himself restarted, and he like, as he's going out of the pit box, like his front tires just spin like crazy. And unfortunately, Rinus VeeKay is in the pit box right in front of him, and he is currently getting serviced. And the right rear tire changer is down, putting the tire on the car, and his feet are, like when you're on your knees and your like little feetsies are right behind you. It just gets absolutely smushed by the tire, by Kiffin Simpson's tire as it goes by.
His toes got ran over.
Oh, I can't imagine. And to be fair to him,
for a second,
he finished the pit stop, and it was only after he got over the wall he like sat down, and I was like, yeah, that has to be some broken tootsies.
It's weird because he didn't even like look behind him to be like, oh, did my foot just get ran over? He literally looked like nothing happened, and then as soon as the adrenaline wore off, he was like, oh, I think all my toes are broken.
Crazy. But yeah, so Kiffin had a drive-through penalty for that. That ruins his chance at a podium. I'd like to think he would have gotten a podium. Would he have? I don't know. None of my business. Now there's an idea. I like that.
No, he can't win. He has to follow one of the other Chip Ganassi cars.
That's true. It wouldn't have unless yeah, we'll get to it. There was a moment where Santino attempts to send Daly off, and ends up effectively sending Daly off, but also sending himself off into the grass. And we hear over the broadcast Townsend Bell. He goes, well, this usually doesn't happen out of nowhere. Like, what was happening right before then? I was like, are they victim blaming?
Yeah, they were like, clearly Connor did something to Santino to upset him so much that he insists on wrecking Connor Daly. And I'm like, I think he's just like that.
What would have warranted that? What would have warranted it? Townsend? And it's always Townsend Bell. But it's like, what would have justified that? And then so we go back and we watch like 10 seconds before, and it's like, oh yeah, they're racing.
I hate it when they do that at IndyCar races.
Shucks. Rats. They got us again. Anywh, Santino got a penalty. Justice! a 3-place grid penalty. So he bumped down to P21. And I put in parentheses, Ross Chastain coded. And then you put in parentheses, Connor tweeted, this clown literally drove himself off track trying to make sure he wrecked me. And then, oh my god, he tagged him?
He added him.
That's hilarious. Brilliant as always. I can't wait to hear about this on the podcast. I hope he's the guest. Oh no, Scott Dixon's going to be the guest. Will he?
Yeah, it's always who wins, or if Alex Palou wins again, they choose somebody else.
Somebody random.
I love that game. Yeah, so Connor's probably mad. I think Connor's like getting to the point in his career where he's like, you guys don't understand how badly I need an IndyCar seat, and then you guys all fuck with me. And then it's like, he's like, I love how he always picks people that grind our gears too to fight with.
Yeah, as if they grind our gears for a reason.
Something to think about.
Especially because, like, it seems like JHR has really got something figured out at this point in the season. Because these cars are looking pretty competitive. So if I were Connor Daly, I too would be tweeting and tagging.
Right.
At this point, we're still having I think I said this earlier, but maybe I meant it now. Palou and his team still don't believe in them to do a 2-stop. Obviously, Scott Dixon has never not believed in himself.
And the 2-stop.
Which I believe. Oh, but then, as I said earlier, we got those qualifying laps that Palou is putting in. He's pushing. And he did overcook a little bit and went off. Just a tad bit. Which is a little bit of foreshadowing for what happens a little bit later.
And then who's right in front of Palou causing problems?
You would never believe this, but Alex Palou was dealing with traffic caused by Stingray Rob, which I feel like is a theme.
I hate it when that happens.
I'm also like 50% sure that he was one of the cars causing traffic last year when Palou lost the race to Pato Award. I'm pretty sure it was Kiffin Simpson and Stingray Rob. That could be wrong. It could have been
I don't know.
else.
It wasn't in your recap video, so I don't know.
It was in my script. It was in my script. It got cut. I made a joke. And then we have Colton Herta, who was leading in pits.
Hate it when that happens.
You hate to see that. You really do. One of his tires didn't go on quite right. It was a slow pit stop. He gets back out, and it's just
know how an Andretti pit stop with Colton Herta is going to go, guys. You don't need us to tell you anymore.
Frustrating. I don't understand why they can't get it together. When are we gonna... I don't know. Whatever. I feel like we're beating a dead horse at this point.
And the dead horse is Colton Herta, who has to show up every weekend and have a pit stop that still doesn't put a tire on. You know what I mean? It's like, it just gets to a point where he's probably like,
devastating.
I just need you guys to know how to do that. That's like one of the few tasks that you have to nail as my pit stop crew, is putting the tire on it. You gotta do it every time.
We witnessed this. I mean, it wasn't the worst pit stop we've seen from Colton Herta's.
No, we're not explaining it away. Continue.
But, so we see that, and then the battle between Scott Dixon and Alex Palou, now it's freaking cooking. Alex Palou has a 3.6 second lead on Scott Dixon, and he's still cooking. He's still pushing like crazy, ends up getting almost a 5-second lead, and then he made an oopsie. He overcooked a little bit, went off a little bit. It's very similar to what he did before, and Scott Dixon says, oh, sick. I'm just going to scoot on by.
This is a great time for me to pass you.
Scoot on by. And to be honest, guys, can I admit something to you? I don't like surprises. So I always have the IndyCar timing up on my iPad, which is always 2 laps ahead. So I actually knew 2 laps. 2 laps.
That's crazy.
And this was, sometimes it's more, truly. So I saw, like, I looked up to be like, where's Kiffin Simpson? And then I was like, Scott Dixon's in the front? Well, my God. But then I was like, oh my God, I'm going to see Alex Palou, like, dropping, like, he crashed or something, like, Stingray Rob hit him or something. But that didn't happen. So we had a Scott Dixon win, which means he has had a win for 21 seasons. And then...
Wow. You're really convincing me of your Scott Dixon fandom.
I think that's right. Andre. I think that is right, but I've learned today that
the delivery sounds so confident. How can I argue with you?
Last time I offered a fun fact, I just got a blank stare and then I cried. So I don't know. Maybe I'm just feeling a little sensitive.
It's about a show I've never seen.
You could have said, "Hey MJ, that's cool. Keep on keeping on."
You're right. I'm sorry.
Okay.
I think that is really cool for Scott Dixon. What race did he win last year?
Detroit.
And then this year, he wins Mid-Ohio. Next year, he wins Iowa. And
that would be sick. I would pass away. I would pass away in a good way. But Scott Dixon actually holds the record for most wins at Mid-Ohio, which you would know if you tuned into my preview. But anywhoozy, in P3 we had Christian Lundgaard, so obviously Chevy just couldn't Chevy. The biggest mover, which I kept texting you about during, because they were not talking about him on the broadcast, which is probably...
You can't look at him even after the race.
Don't look at him. But Rinus VeeKay moved up 17 positions in a Dale coin. That is crazy. We do not talk enough about Rinus VeeKay. But so that was amazing.
I can't wait till he gets an Arrow McLaren seat next year.
Could you imagine?
I just need him to be on a better team. I don't know, guys. I don't know. He can't keep being in a Dale coin in this good. It's frustrating for me to watch. I can't do it.
He has to go somewhere. I don't even want to hypothesize where he could go because I'm actually pretty solid on this grid, I think.
I hope it doesn't change at all. I think it's gonna change a whole bunch.
No, I said this one will do. Penske finished P23, P26, and P27.
Who got P23?
Scott McLaughlin got P23, and then he posted himself on Twitter. It was just him with a McDonald's ice cream, no caption. So he's feeling pretty good about P23. And then some sleeper picks. Who I think we need to pay more attention to in general is MSR ended P6 and P7. So they're always there, but we're just not looking at them. Don't look at them. Even though Felix Rosenqvist is in maybe the sickest livery I've ever seen in my life.
I noticed, so last year they did the Sirius XM sponsorship with Felix, and it was always like country artists. And then this year it's like always like dad rock artists. And I'm like, what's the theme like next year? Can you imagine next year if they're like Sirius XM, bubblegum pop? It's just like, here's Felix Rosenqvist in a Kesha car.
Do you guys know who Sabrina Carpenter is? He comes out in a wig.
I just think it's funny that every year there's like a theme. I think this year's the most fun because it's like, who doesn't want a Creed car at the Indy 500? Dude. Name one person who doesn't want that.
The Creed car. We had Black Sabbath this weekend. I fucking love
So who do you
Black
think
Sabbath.
what do you think is it going to be for next weekend at Iowa while we're there?
3 doors down.
While we're there, 3 doors down livery. Let's go! Fuck yeah!
Yeah, that's all I got for IndyCar. We are... Oh, wait.
No, I have more things.
I see that.
I have more things. Hold on. I wrote, happy 1-year birthday to the hybrid. Happy birthday, hybrid. What do you think about the hybrid, MJ? 1 whole year with the hybrid. What do you think?
Well, technically it hasn't been a year yet because last year Mid-Ohio... Wasn't Mid-Ohio after Iowa? No, it wasn't. I'm making lies. You were right. I think... Wow.
Be disrespectful to my fun fact just because I was disrespectful to your fun fact?
Yeah, anyways, I accidentally did. I think that was a little bit of... That was a part of me that I don't recognize.
You're lashing
I apologize.
out.
Hey, that was really crazy I did that. Should we do a photo shoot?
I'm so sorry that happened. They don't police that part of the show though, so I actually got away with it. It was pretty crazy. Anyways, continue.
I really don't want to be a downer on the hybrid because it's like it's not going anywhere in some situations, but like we've seen at races where like it's super beneficial that they are able to restart it. And I think that that's really cool. That's maybe the coolest part about the hybrids is when they can restart it and they're allowed to. Cons for the hybrids, Sometimes it doesn't work.
No, it works now, though. It works way more now. The amount of times it doesn't work is exponentially less than the amount of times it didn't work last year. They looked at it and they were like, this engine does have to work. And then they fixed whatever was making it not.
No, that's true. That is true. And just like the weight that's added, that's not great. But apparently with the new car that's going to hit IndyCar in like, fucking 2028.
Yeah,
apparently,
nobody cares.
Essentially what it's going to do is kind of equal out that weight. And I don't know.
Can't wait till they do that. Surely that'll be sometime soon, right? 2028, that's a hard deadline.
2028. Guys, I gotta be honest.
It's a deadline that can't be moved.
You mean for the past 10 years when we've been setting deadlines, we were just going to end up setting it in 2028 anyways? I'm hoping, though, that the hybrids make a really amazing race next weekend at Iowa.
We'll be there.
What do you think about the hybrids?
I haven't been here long enough.
Okay, that's fair. Honestly, me neither, because I only know the hybrid racing.
Me with IndyCar generally. I haven't been here long enough.
That's fair.
I just got here. I don't really get to shit on things yet.
I'm 4 years old.
You're the oldest person ever. You're the oldest person ever. I'm the youngest person ever. Yeah, I don't know. I don't have any opinions. I don't know what the before times were like, so I can't really comment on the after times. I'm just here for the hybrid only. I heard, hybrid engine? Here I am, new fan.
That's sick. I love electricity.
Anyways, on the NASCAR. I love Laps Down podcasts. They keep things moving. You know, we forgot to do last week that we're not going to forget to do this week, but we're also not going to comment on, like, who our fan favorite was for last week, by the way, because I don't remember anything from last week. So we're going to comment on our fan favorite from this week. You're going to Chase Elliott for this week.
No, for last week. I already had my answer last week. I just didn't say anything about how we didn't do it until afterwards.
Okay, well then I'll put Chase Elliott down for you. I'm abstaining because I don't remember anything. Who's your fan favorite for this week?
And Chase Elliott wins.
Our votes are separate. You do know I'm keeping track of both your votes and my votes, and then at the end of the season, we're going to cast 2 separate ballots based on who our fan favorite was.
No, that's not how it works. No, that's not what I agreed upon. Who is my fan favorite?
Anything. This
Andrea, I'm trying to think.
Started.
I can't listen and think at the same time.
Do you want me to go first?
Yeah, you go first. Let me think about it.
My fan favorite for this week is Bubba Wallace because he had a really funny YouTube channel with my 2 favorite drivers from not Bubba Wallace, and it's SVG and Scotty Mac, and it was so fun. MJ hasn't watched the YouTube video yet, but you guys should watch it. It's basically Bubba vlogging his like legend car journey with Scotty Mac and SVG, and I just love that he has now found like a niche audience of like New Zealander and motorsports fans that he's just like really appealing to by giving us SVG and Scotty Mac content. And I would say I was going to say it was going to be SVG, but then he bullied my child. So he doesn't get it for this week. It was rightful bullying. I think it was necessary bullying. But it was still bullying.
He didn't even bully him. I would say my fan favorite of the week is probably SVG because it doesn't ever really happen for me that like one of my favorite drivers wins anything, and he did hurt twice this weekend. Why? This was a really big day for the MJ camp. Let me tell you.
Today, dude, I literally thought the MJ camp was gonna explode.
It's still mine.
Joy. The Andrea camp was really conflicted yesterday. I was going through lots of emotions because I've been going through lots of emotions all week with NASCAR. Can I be honest?
Yeah.
We started the week off with the news that Daniel Suarez is no longer going to be at Trackhouse. And everybody who is Connor Zilic fans were like, yay, he's going to Trackhouse. I'm so upset. I'm choking. What do you mean, guys? As Connor Zilic fans, we're supposed to also be Daniel Suarez fans. You're supposed to be conflicted about this moment, not celebrating and dancing on his grave. How can you be a Connor Zilic fan?
The body's not even cold yet. And we're already putting a warmer body in the car. We can't do that. Give him a second. Don't giggle. Hey.
The way you're insinuating Daniel's been dead for a while because his body's been cold for like a good while.
No, I said the body isn't cold.
There's a warmer body.
That's just how anatomy works. The body's gonna be warmer because the blood is probably because he's alive.
I saw it as like Daniel's always been a lukewarm body.
That's just not how bodies work.
There's been a warmer body on the sidelines, but this body has not gone cold yet, so you can't celebrate yet.
Yeah, he's still racing, guys. He's got the rest of the season.
I was just confused because I was like, who the fuck are Connor Zilic fans who are not also fans of Daniel Suarez? Who are you? You're not part of the track. You're not part of the Trackhouse team.
The family.
The family. Me and Justin Marks are really close, and I cannot believe that you guys were celebrating this. That is disgusting, and you should be ashamed of yourself. And how do you know it's not going to be Elio Castroneves?
Dude.
That gets that seat. How do you know? You can't know for sure. Because he had a really good time in that Wendy's uniform.
He really did. He had a really good time, and thus we had a really good time.
So you can't know for sure it's not going to be Elio Castroneves. So keep your mouth shut, first of all, Connor Zilic fan. Second of all, as a Connor Zilic fan, I had a really tough time watching that Xfinity race because I was like, he's coming all the way from the back. He had an issue in qualifying. He's coming all the way from the back. All he has to do is defeat this one last obstacle of SVG, and it'll still be really fun because SVG will be happy for him. And then, I don't know, Connor just thought he was going to get the win from SVG. I don't really know what his plan was. He was like, what do you mean he didn't just like let me win? And I was like, I don't think he was ever going to do that, my love. He came here to win.
At first, he had made a comment where he's like, I don't know, I assumed we were going to race clean. And then I think he realized, he's like, well, it wasn't dirty racing. I'd never raced him before, and it was just harder than I thought it was going to be.
Yeah, he basically was like, I mean, like, it wasn't, like, illegal. I just didn't like it.
It was just like, I don't know, I wasn't expecting it. Fair.
I honestly, like, feel like, though, like, how struck he must have been in that moment, because, like, this is, like, literally, like, he's, like, frat brother almost, like his like senior year, like he's a freshman, like this is his senior
mentor,
like, yeah, and then it's like he just like couldn't compute that he's like, wait, no, you're actually better at racing than me. You were like my mentor this whole time because you're better at racing than me, but like I just am surprised that coming face to face with how you're better than me.
There was something in his brain who was like, rookie, you rookie, I'm rookie. We are 18. We have both not done this very long. And then it's like, well, he's a rookie. He's in his 30s, and he's actually won Australian supercars multiple times.
Here twice. He won here in Xfinity
also,
and in Cup.
Unfortunately,
I don't know if that's an issue.
I fear this was never a race that you were going to beat him at, but he still had a monster race. Truly.
I know. It's so frustrating, though, like, being somehow disappointed with, like, his result, because second place was probably the best.
This is how Ferrari fans feel.
Yeah, this is how they start. This is me. This is, like, me with Connor Zilic. I'm like, no, he was always going to get second place. I don't know why I'm, like, disappointed. It's just, like, in that moment, I was like, is he actually better than SVG? And then I was like, no, he's not.
I did think for a moment, I was like, this would be crazy if he beat SVG at this specific course on this specific day. It didn't happen, though.
No. Surprise to me and Connor Zilic. We're both surprised. We also had our qualifying for the Cup Series, and you texted me an ominous text 2 days before Chicago, and you're like, just so you know, somebody's going to get bumped. And I was like, what the fuck?
I was just keeping it. That's how Jeff Gluck said it. He goes, someone's not going to make it this weekend. And I go, well, I bet Andrea didn't know that.
Yeah, no, I didn't. And then immediately I was anxious because there was a lot of people that I did not like the prospect of them getting bumped, but they were very likely to get bumped. One of them being Will Brown. I was like, this can't happen. MJ's going to be really upset. And then I was like, okay. And then we have like, well, we'll get to that later. Not that it mattered. And then I was like, we can't bump Catherine Legg because, like, that's not allowed. She has a whole
can't handle
car. And I also, like, we've been doing pretty okay with the lack of misogynistic comments about Catherine Legg. This will be a resurgence that I'm not willing to deal with. Luckily, none of that happened, and it was Corey Haim. I don't know.
On his birthday.
Yeah, once you said that, I was sad about it. I was fine with it until you told me that.
He just turned 12 or 13 or however old you have to be to run a race.
Yeah, he literally, yeah. However old you have to be to, I mean, let Connor do it at 12, so.
In the post-race interview, or the post-qualifying interview after he got kicked out, they go, and it's your birthday today, how old are you? And he goes, I'm 4 years old.
You're the youngest person ever. That's really upsetting. I didn't like it when you told me it was his birthday. Anyways, Catherine Legg is here. Yay! And then it was crazy because everybody was like, that's crazy how Catherine Legg is actually, she did a good job at qualifying. Like, all the commentators, they were like, that was crazy how she did that. That was so good and cool to watch. And I was like, what did you think she was going to do? Just say it. Did you think she was going to get bumped?
Speak on it.
I didn't. I mean, I also thought she was going to get bumped, but I didn't say it.
I never said it out loud, so how would you even know if I thought that?
I just thought really hard about how I didn't want that to happen.
But I'm always nervous she's gonna get bumped just because she's new. She's frankly new here.
And we are women on the internet talking about NASCAR. I didn't sign up to be her defense lawyer, but it's a position I was given.
It's a full-time job. Truly, it is a full-time job.
I don't want to do it this weekend. I'm sorry. I just wanted to have fun in Chicago and not be a defense lawyer for Catherine Legg and also women existing. I didn't want to defend it.
No, but she did, since I don't think we have it in the notes, P19 from 33.
First woman since Danica Patrick to be in top 20. I'm so glad the last person wasn't Danica Patrick after this. So the next woman that does it, we don't have to bring up Danica Patrick. It can now be Catherine Legg. That's really exciting for women.
We are at the point where we can almost, like, never say her name again in records, unless we're talking about Ricky Stenhouse's, like, dating history.
Yeah, what did I see? Did you send me a clip the other day where they were, like, in a clip together, those two?
Oh, yeah, it was, Michael Waltrip was doing a little pit lane reporting, and it was Ricky Stenhouse and Danica Patrick. Well, he goes to Ricky, he's like, just so you know, if you asked her to marry you, she'd probably say yes. And he just looks like...
I literally was who is that?
Michael,
I was like, that's Ricky?
Yeah, back in the old days. And then Michael Waltrip goes, I figured that out for you. You're welcome. And then he proceeds to spill a taco on Denny Hamlin's car.
Me and MJ are still working through the classic NASCAR clips on TikTok, guys. Don't worry. We're, like, getting caught up with all the memes from back in the day, you know.
A lot of years came before this one that we're currently watching. Yeah.
You've entered... Honestly, people want to talk about the next gen of fucking NASCAR. Ooh, I don't even like that there's a street race. This just isn't NASCAR. Like, these cars... Blah, blah, blah. And it's like, we just got here. The whole time we've been here, there's been a Chicago race. It's been very fun.
What do you want me to do?
SVG
Stage racing?
Wins.
It's all I know.
Don't ask me about the before... I wasn't here for that.
I wasn't even born.
I don't know. You kind of were like, maybe Chicago is an interesting race that isn't good at existing.
I understand. I like it. Obviously. I understand how it could be frustrating from a spectator point of view, especially if you're someone who watches NASCAR, because some of these drivers, lovingly, cannot race at street courses to save their lives, which I understand sometimes it's really frustrating when we're, like, kind of watching the fuckassery that's happening, and it's like, oh my god, like, we have such a good race product happening at the front, but then it's like, we're stopping every few minutes because, like, these guys just don't really know how to do it. But
they that's can get away with it more on, like, Coda or something, because there's, like, runoff.
Because there's more runoff.
When you put a wall there, it becomes apparent some of these men, they cannot drive on these courses with love.
It's just a consequence of having these racing series that go to multiple different kinds of tracks. We see it in IndyCar too, where we're like, less so, but where we're like, oh, you're here for ovals. And I see that, and I respect that. You're really pissing me off, though.
I think it's because there's, like, an era of NASCAR where these kids came up through the feeder series to be a NASCAR driver. And they just were like, this is the only thing I need to know how to do. And then, like, the last 10 years, NASCAR was like, you have to learn how to do other things now. And they were like,
we're going to do some other things. But I also...
Whereas, like, IndyCar drivers, if you, like, wanted to be an IndyCar driver, you probably did some open wheel racing, non-ovals.
Yeah, 100%. I don't know if there's many drivers that I would say are good on all different types of courses. Like, even Alex Palou, I'm still not super confident, like, at short ovals and...
I don't think he's confident either.
Right, that's fair. But I understand people's frustration with Chicago. That being said, I think you guys are being a little dramatic.
It's one weekend. It's one street race they do. You know what I mean? Like, if it was like, oh, we're adding like 7 street races to the calendar, I'd be like, maybe that's a bit much. Like, they're not good at them. It's one.
It's a spectacle. Like, it's like a... Yeah, it's just a special little weekend. I think we will be fine.
It's one. You'll be okay. You know, just don't watch it if you don't want to watch it. It's one weekend. Come back next weekend. You'll be fine.
It's a holiday weekend. Go find someone who loves you and spend time with them.
Go hang out on a boat or whatever people do on 4th of July.
Get yourself a boat.
And if you have a boat, I don't have a friend with a boat, so, like, I am looking for one at the moment. Is that a thing in Iowa? You guys don't have that. In Michigan, you always needed a friend with a boat.
We have a boat.
You have a boat?
It's not like that kind. It's not like a pontoon, though.
Can we go on it someday?
It's a not fishing boat. Well, it's put away for the year. Boat season's over.
Is it, like, right now boat season? I'm not going to press you on it.
The boat's put away, not boat season. If it were boat season, wouldn't the boat be out?
I'm not going to press you on it. We'll talk about it at a later date. This weekend's booked already with Iowa. Another time we'll have to go on a boat. Anything to say about that? Or we can talk about the race if you want.
Yeah, I would like to talk about the race if you're interested. No pressure.
Yeah. So Michael McDowell gets SVG at the start, and then he just does that for a really long time. And I was kind of like, fuck it, I'm down with the Michael McDowell win. If not SVG, it'd be kind of fun for it to be Michael McDowell.
Michael McDowell. Spire has, like, this cooking. They're cooking something
strange. Up. What are you guys doing over at Spire? Every once in a while, they just go, we can win this race.
We could be pretty good here, I think, if we tried.
Well, don't get too excited, because then... he just leads for a good while, wins stage 1, and then his throttle pedal doesn't work anymore, and he's out for the rest of the race. So that was fun, right? Did you have fun?
They take him to pit road, and then we hear a radio where it's like, yeah, it's going to be a lot of work. We got to take you to the DVP, and it's just going to take a really long time. I was like, couldn't you lie?
I liked it better when they were like, just go out there and try and see if you can drive without a throttle pedal. And he's like, nope, turns out I can't.
It's not gonna
I don't
work.
know. Like, the commentators were like, that's like kind of a crazy ask for a driver on a street race, is to just go out there and see if you can drive without a working throttle pedal.
I hadn't heard of it, but wouldn't it have been crazy?
He almost hit the pace car on accident because he
Sure.
didn't have a working throttle pedal, right? So, like, they were like, well, so is that like a confirmed no, you can't drive without a throttle? Or because, like, we can't fix it. It would just, like, be really hard.
Keep doing it? Yeah.
Kind of a crazy ask. Anyways, on, like, the beginning of the race, at the beginning, that's how you speak English, obviously, Carson causes, like, half of the field to just traffic jam behind him. And the people that importantly kind of, like, took out for the rest of the day were Brad Keselowski. Hate it when that happens. Brad, by the way, is a friend now. If friend of the pod. You guys have been listening to Lapsdown for a while, you might remember at a time where I didn't like Brad at all. I actually care about him very deeply now. So I just wanted to, like, inform you guys of the major switch up that we're taking on Brad Keselowski. Todd Gilliland, Pickle Boy, as he's been called lovingly in some of the in-season tournament smack talk videos.
Pickle Boy. I don't have to sweeten my delivery for Todd.
We also had Riley Hertz. Hate it because
likely place for him to be.
I know, but I put him on my fantasy because I was out of money, and sometimes he does good on, like, random courses like this.
That's true.
And I was like, oh, okay, so he just did what he usually does. I thought he was going to do something different this week. That's why I bought him. Austin Dillon. And Will Brown. I'm actually pissed about this. Can I be honest? Because I wanted to see what he could do. A little bit.
Yeah, me too. I've been looking forward to this race for, 9 years? Easily.
Right. No, I'll let you run with that number.
Just because of Will Brown. I love, everybody knows I love Will Brown. He's my favorite supercars driver who I chose last year randomly, accidentally bandwagon. How was I supposed to know? How was I supposed to know he was really good? That's not my business. And then
I really wanted him to have fun.
He's had so much fun this week. Last week, and he went to Atlanta, and he was like, hey, is there anyone who would let me tailgate with him at Atlanta? He did that. He was on Stacking Pennies. He's been making social media content this whole week. He's been trying to convince the other team members for the NASCAR team that he was on that starts with a K, but I can never pronounce it right, so I'm just not going to do it. He was like, have you guys ever been to Australia? You want to come watch supercars? I drive in supercars. If you wanted to come watch supercars, we can hang out, but in Australia where I race supercars. Which was really incredibly endearing to me, and he seemed so excited. He also did this video where he was talking about the differences between his supercar car and his NASCAR car, and he just didn't seem super sure on everything he was saying in the NASCAR. He was like, well, in the gear shift's a little different. Like in our cars, it's just like a lot easier, but like here, it's like you gotta move it up every single time you get it is different. And then also like we have doors so that we can like get in the car.
You guys
they don't have those in NASCAR, so it's just like a little bit harder to get in the car. And he's also like, they don't have mirrors with NASCAR. But we have those. I don't know. I was really excited.
Can we have Will Brown on the pod? If I ask, would you want him on the pod?
I would love to. I would die to have him.
I didn't know if you, because sometimes, guys, a fun fact about MJ is that there's people that she adores dearly, but she doesn't actually ever want to talk or meet to them. But Will Brown, you would talk to.
Yeah, because he would be in Australia, so it wouldn't really even be like we're talking to him, because he's like in a different
day
and everything.
Like, real there. Yeah, no, they're different entirely people. I've never been to Australia. Not sure if it even exists, really.
Could be AI for all I know.
Let's reach out to Will Brown. He was on Stacking Pennies, which is like not even that famous of a podcast in comparison to us.
Much less fun than ours, I would say.
I think you'd have a good time. Anywho. And also Daniel Suarez. What a fun present for him to be out on the first lap.
Dang it, Carson.
Yeah, so Austin Dillon kind of was like, Carson is the biggest freaking dumbass in NASCAR. I don't know. I feel bad because sometimes I am kind of like, Carson, that was kind of dumb. But like, I like him, so I'm just kind of like, oh, what are you going to do? He made a mistake. Oops.
I would never say he's any, like, if that's the capacity we're measuring him at, dumbassery. I would like to say that Kyle Busch spins a handful of people every single weekend, and no one seems to complain about that. Also, Austin Dillon, if we're going to be throwing rocks, let's make sure we don't currently reside inside of a glass residence, if you know what I'm saying. You know?
I know exactly what you're saying, MJ. And I think that's what everyone else was also saying on Twitter, because they were like, I love the sentiment, not coming from you, though, dumbass. Don't talk about Carson. Anywho, I did kind of see Chris Buescher doing well, and I was like, frick, I always put him on my fantasy for road courses or street courses, and I didn't do it for this week, and I'm so dumb. And then he had engine issues, so then I was like, I actually knew that was going to happen, so thank God I didn't put him on my fantasy. Woo! Anybody that did that, they're out of luck, huh?
Oof.
Did you do that?
No.
See, you knew too. Then we had a little spin from Alex Bowman. Sent him to the back. He was racing Austin Cindric pretty hard. Don't worry though, guys. He comes back. He can't take him down like that. He comes back. Randomly, Ryan Preece was just like, I think it's going to have to be me or Ty Gibbs, but we're not walking away from this. And it's funny because the commentators are talking about, they were like, Ryan Preece just decided this year that he is actually good at road courses as well. And he has like a confidence that they're like, he's rocking with the confidence now that everyone's trying to figure out where specifically he got it from, but like, we'd love to see it.
I put him on my fantasy because he's just randomly been really good at road courses. I was like, okay, I mean, if that's what we're rocking with, I'm rocking with it.
Do you think he was watching SVG's foot cam and he was like, I can fucking do that? Is that what you guys have been yapping on and on about?
It's not even that hard. Get me a foot cam. Get me a foot cam stat.
We didn't see a foot cam from him, but how do we know he's not heel toeing and using the clutch the same way as
heel toe do-si-do
to save the rear tires? That's what I learned we were supposed to get from SVG's foot cam.
What?
By the way.
Say it again?
Something about heel toeing and like the clutch, and then it saves the rear tires or something. I don't know. I've been really for a long time, guys, trying to pretend like I understand. Unfortunately, I don't actually know how to drive a car that's not automatic. I don't really know what a clutch does. I don't know if that's important to state at this point of our NASCAR podcast.
Yeah. My car knowledge starts and ends in my Ford Focus. So
I don't know if now is an okay time for us to admit that.
I think we didn't need to ever admit it, and I think people get the gist.
I think they knew. Yeah, you're probably right. Okay, so maybe he figured out how to do whatever the fuck that was. Then we had Kyle Larson and Bubba have contact. And Kyle Larson, I don't like it when he's in a different uniform. When he's not in the blue and white Hendrick specific car, I literally am always like, who is this guy? And then I'm like, number 5, that's Kyle Larson. That makes so much sense. I would have known he was going to act like that if I would have seen the blue and white. Mm-hmm. He tricks us.
Sneaky.
I don't like it. He has to be blue and white every time. Same with Joey Logano, has to be red and yellow every time. Some people do not get to transcend color schemes. I don't know who you are. I don't know who you are. You mean nothing to me. You're nobody. Sorry, he has to be in the blue and white Hendrick. Like, it's so serious to me. So then we had Josh Berry crash. It takes forever for the yellow to come up. But in that time, everybody's like, there's like clearly going to be a yellow. So they all like head to pit road. And they were like, that took like a full like minute and a half to like put a yellow out. And I was like, this seems like maybe it's going to be a trend today. Trend alert, waiting forever to throw a yellow, even though it's like clearly a non-fixable situation and this person is going to need a yellow.
Do you think it's a situation like, do you remember the Roval where someone went up under the tires and they're like, frankly, we just couldn't see him. We lost track of one of the cars and we just didn't know where he was. And so they're like, we didn't call a yellow because we just weren't sure. But I think
that's exactly what happened. I saw somebody post a map and they said that the reason why all those cars piled up behind Carson is because there's like a tree there and none of the spotters could see it. So they like all like, that's why they all just crashed into cars. I was like, why did nobody like be like, hey, there's a 12 car pile up currently, like go around it? It was because none of the spotters could see it from wherever they were sitting.
Seems like it could be a fixable issue, but I like the way we're rocking. Let's keep going.
Do you think that NASCAR and maybe sometimes IndyCar are too reliant on spotters? Where, like, they just don't have any situational awareness on road courses for NASCAR? Oh, like
some specific drivers?
It's like, how do you need a spotter to tell you that there's a 12-car pileup? Like, I get it if you're booking around the corner. Like, the first couple cars, I was like, I get how that happened. After, like, the 7th car joined the pileup, I was like, at what point did you have no idea that this was happening? Like, every car in front of you is, like, clearly going slow.
They just, like, second-guess it because they're like, well, if there actually was a pileup in front of me, someone would have told me about it, so I'm probably just imagining it. Like, when I'm like, is the light really green, or am I about to run a red light right now? I think, so I relate to that.
Like, there's times where I watch F1, and I'm like, oh, this would be so interesting if they had, like, spotters. Because they, like, sometimes I'm like, you just didn't see that person. Or, like, in IndyCar, they have, like, crazy blind spots because of the Aeroscreens. I understand that NASCARs have crazy blind spots. I'm not dumb. But, like, at a certain point, to be good on a road course, like, it's like you gotta have a little bit of your own, like, situational awareness.
Yeah, that's always odd when you get those, like, giant pile-ups, because it's, going into the weekend that your spotter can't see the entire, like, 2-mile track. So you are gonna have to kind of use your own peepers.
Maybe first lap of Chicago, we could operate under the assumption that there's gonna be a crash into the wall.
Yeah. That's an
idea. Keep your eyes peeled.
Stay vigilant.
They should put one of those giant mirrors that they use to, like, allow you to see around a corner.
That's a good idea. Put a mirror on a racetrack. No, I know what you're talking about.
See, now you're thinking I'm dumb. I can see it in your eyes.
I think putting a mirror on a racetrack, not a good idea.
But they can see around the corner.
Sure. So now what happens when someone hits the mirror? Then
Those
no
mirrors
longer
aren't
can people see around.
The mirror isn't actually made out of glass, MJ.
Yeah, but how fast do you have to be to go through something in NASCAR? Like, I think if you're coming around a corner at 90 miles per hour, you could do some damage to something that's not glass. However,
put it high up. Put it high up. No.
Oh, it's like up and tilted?
Yes, motherfucker. Or like one of those giant like domes that they put so you can see around.
And it's a good idea, but if they're not looking directly in front of them while they're coming around a corner, you think they're going to be looking a little bit to the sky to see what's happening around the corner?
I didn't say that they're smart enough to figure it out. I'm just saying if I was a NASCAR driver, I would be interested to see what was going on in the mirror. And then I'd be like, whoa, that looks like a 7-car pileup around the corner.
I'm going to slow my roll a little bit.
Whatever. Just like when next year you see a giant mirror at that specific corner, and we come back to this conversation and I go, told you so. I don't want to hear it, MJ.
The Franz family actually listens to our podcast. They're writing this down aggressively right now.
I'm sure they're writing a lot of stuff down, like our name on a blacklist somewhere.
Yeah. Fair enough.
Fair enough. Anyways, Kyle Busch spins out lap 35. What a perfect time for him to spin out. I figured it would happen sometime, right?
Correct.
Why does he do that every race? What's going on there?
Interesting because it's always a spin. It's never like, oh, he goes into the wall or he like knocks someone. It's always, if there's one thing he's going to do, it's going to spin.
In F1, they've started calling those like pirouetting. Oh, he's pirouetting. When you like spin and don't hit a wall. Can we call that for Kyle Busch? He pirouettes a lot. He's doing it a lot.
Doesn't feel like pirouetting. It feels like dizzy batting.
It feels like bowling. Kind of just takes out whatever pins are in the way.
Like, you know, when you bowl backwards, like you release the ball backwards on the Wii, and they all go, woo, and jump in a circle.
That could be at any time in NASCAR. Okay, guys, just keep your eyes on Kyle Busch. Okay, and then Catherine Legg hits the wall on lap 40.
No!
But she was fine.
Yeah, she was totally good.
She just,
got herself back around.
Walked it off a little bit. That's how Catherine, like, they were like, she really smacked really hard into those tires. And Dale was like, oh, but she's like, fine.
Yeah.
She, like, seems to just be, like, driving away.
A woman persevering. Like, this isn't new, guys. Fork found a kitchen.
No, that's so true. Ricky Stenhouse Jr. hits the tire barrier with 2 to go in stage 2. And then Ryan Blaney wins stage 2. I don't even know. He just, like, on his own accord. I don't know. He was just Ricky Stenhouse Jr. But he kept doing it, like, when he was, like, in the top 5. He does it again later on. He, like, gets himself up to the top 5 and then, like, or, like, top 10. And I'm just like, that would be a good place for you to finish.
I can't believe Carson would do that to him.
Somebody laid eyes on Carson, by the way, today, after he crashed half the field.
No. He hasn't even tweeted anything from what I've seen.
So, Ryan Blaney wins stage 2, and they were like, that's surprising. How did Ryan Blaney get up here? And I was like, that's a great point. I do not remember him leading this race ever, but whatever. Good for Ryan Blaney, I guess. But then somehow Chase Briscoe gets up there. And I'm like, how did you get up there, Chase Briscoe? And he was like actually kind of causing problems. And then they were like, Chase Briscoe doesn't have enough fuel. This is just like Pocono. He's going to win. And I'm like, I hate Chicago. Take it off the calendar. This race is stupid. But then they bring out a caution and then they say, oh, the caution was because there was a medical emergency in the infield and they had to bring an ambulance across the track to get somebody out. And I went, what? Is this the first time this has ever happened in all these years that the 3 years they've had the Chicago race? Like,
I think so, yeah.
Surely that would have happened before.
No, everyone was on their best behavior the other times. No one was having medical emergencies.
Nobody needed an ambulance? Don't they bring an ambulance if somebody just, like, passes out?
Yep.
It's probably exactly what the medical emergency was.
Maybe. I hope it was just that. But I guess they had to go to the hospital, so.
I don't know, but like, yeah, I was kind of like surprised that that's how this racetrack is set up. I guess I don't know any other way they would set it up, because in a traditional oval, you would just be able to drive under the track in the tunnel, but I can't do that here. But I was like, damn, I had no idea that that's how this would work. Well, anyways, they had to pause the race for a second with a caution. Sorry, guys, I'm dying. Thank goodness I didn't unplug my microphone. Okay, so now we have this is where stuff starts to get sticky between Ross and Joey Logano, okay?
Wait, you forgot to mention that right before the caution, SVG passes Chase Briscoe for first.
Oh, that was really, I was relieved to see it.
I was watching, because he had like a 3-second lead on SVG, and this was when I was kind of taking my stage 2 nap, so I'd opened my peepers long enough to see where SVG was, and it was like 3 seconds. I'm like, frick, that's not great. And then I'd drift off for a minute, and then I'd open my eyes and it'd say 2.4 seconds. I was like, clearly he's making some progress, and then I'd drift back off into sleep. And then I'd wake up again and it said 1.7 seconds, and I go, and suddenly I'm awake. Now we're cooking. And then he passed him.
Yeah, thank goodness. That was scary for a little bit there. And then we had Austin Cindric, Kyle Larson, and Ross Chastain played bumper cars. They hit, I think, Ross Chastain into the tire barrier, but then the tire barrier just kind of like straightened him out. Yeah. It broke the toe link on Austin's car. Somewhere in there, is this where Ross thinks Joey Logano hit him?
Yes.
I don't even know where Joey was in this. I was like, where did you get that?
He was behind him. He came up after the situation, and maybe it was like he saw two. He's confused. He's like, maybe if I get back at this Penske, it'll just like osmosis its way over to Joey Logano. Whatever he was thinking, it was not correct. And even the little voice in his ear, his spotter or his crew chief was like, just so you know, it was Austin Cindric who hit you, not Joey Logano, after he had already decided
to fucking wreck out Joey Logano or something. He didn't succeed, but like he tried to kill Joey Logano.
It was dramatic.
And then Ricky Stenhouse just became collateral damage in this, and I was like, of course Ricky has nothing to say about the actual like dumbassery that's happening around him. Like, this was like a time where I was like, if Ricky wanted to be like, hey, idiots, what the fuck is your guys' problem? I was just driving here and then you guys all start playing bumper cars and I'm in the middle and now my race is ruined. I'd be like, period, Ricky, eat them up. That's exactly what happened. No, he had nothing to say about this one. It wasn't a 22-year-old kid that he could punch, so he wasn't interested.
Okay, Ricky.
But then after the race, we see Joey and Ross kind of continuously fighting throughout the race, and then at the end, actually fighting with words. Joey looked upset.
Joey Logano, so at first he did an interview with Bob Pockrass where they were walking, and they were walking pretty briskly, and I was like, Bob, keep up. That guy's got long legs. And Joey Logano was like, he admitted to, and he had a smile on his face when he said it, which is scary. He's like, he admitted to wrecking me on purpose, so that should be a penalty. So I guess we'll wait to see what penalty that is. Which is true. It should technically be a penalty. Mm-hmm. And then they were having a little bit of a conversation over by Ross Chastain's car after he got out of the car. And you didn't get any audio because we're too far away. Brick.
We can never mic these guys up before these conversations. It's just too much to ask.
We should have known.
Put a little mic pack on them.
But you could see, like, Joey Logano say something along the lines of, is like, why do you, like, lash out in the moment? Like, why did you get so heated in the moment? And I was like, send him to therapy.
That's so true, Joey. I've been asking myself the same thing. Do you think the stress of the affair that he's having with the Apple is causing him to lash out in other points in his life?
Yeah, and seeing Watermelon today, like, at the track, I think that might have been a little unnerving. I know things aren't going well at home for him, you know, between his affair with the Apple when he formerly was married, I would say, to the idea of the watermelon. Mm-hmm. So I get that, but, like, once again, it's one of those things where it's like, I understand things are going bad at home, but you can't take him out on Joey Logano.
On Joseph Logano, you can't. He's a grown man who doesn't go by Joey anymore.
He said he wanted to go by Joe.
Joseph. Thank you for coming to my TED Talk.
But it's another one of those situations where, like, hey guys, I gotta be honest, I think you may also live in one of these glass houses that you're throwing stones in, Joey Logano, because I just feel like... But hey...
He would do the same thing with love. He would do the same thing with love. With love, he would do the same thing. I think it's that he's better. Like, the reason why he's smiling at that he admitted to do, because he's like, I would have never admitted.
Never admitted to it.
Yeah,
I would have waited for my lawyer before I spoke.
Yeah, Joey's like a smooth criminal. Like, he's like, I can't believe you're dumb enough to admit it. I would have never done that.
Mm-mm.
Wow. Okay. And then we have Tyler Reddick. He puts on new tires and absolutely cooks for the last couple laps of the race. And they were like, that was definitely a really good strategy call. If only he would have made it earlier, he could have won the race. But he didn't. He also got caught up, I think, a little bit and slowed down by Bubba and Alex Bowman deciding that they wanted to end each other's life today on track. What the fuck was their problem? They were like apparently fake fighting before the race about the in-season tournament.
Yeah.
Felt real.
And they interviewed, I don't think that they got an interview with Bubba because Bubba left immediately, but Alex Bowman was kind of like, I didn't realize we were, like, really beefing, but, like, I didn't mean to spin him.
Please.
It kind of felt like
Alex.
It kind of felt like he spun himself, which I agree. It did seem like he spun himself, I would say.
No, I don't think Alex, like, Bowman, like purposely wrecked him or something like that. I'm just saying, like, he literally was, like, antagonizing the fuck out of Bubba for no reason. Like, they were fighting, both of them, like, insane. And then
yeah,
he was I didn't know we were fighting that hard.
No, that's not what he said. He was like, I didn't realize that, like, that's what we were going to be doing. Because it truly, I mean, guys, I gotta be honest, they weren't fighting for, like, first place.
Do you think that they came over the radio and they were like, if you guys make us believe that you care about this in-season tournament, we will give you both $1 million for just, like,
maybe
being a good actor?
I know that they came over Alex Bowman's radio and said, we are not dealing with this motherfucker right now. And I said, have fun with the Bubba? FIA!
Meaning Bubba? The motherfucker is Bubba?
Meaning Bubba, who is, for seemingly no reason, was trying to kill Alex Bowman. I was like, hey guys, whoa! There's not enough laps left in this race for any of this to be meaningful.
And then, at the very, very, very end of the race, I was kind of, like, interested in the Tyler Reddick and Ty Gibbs battle that was happening.
Yeah.
Not that that mattered because Cody Ware decided the race was over.
Yeah, he sent it into a wall at 93 miles per hour. And he was, like, asking for help over the radio, and NASCAR was like, man, I think he could probably back it up, so they didn't throw out a yellow.
I feel like I heard that his, like, brakes went out or something, and that's why he slammed into the wall, or, like, the tire barrier that hard. And I think that NASCAR didn't want to throw a yellow because they didn't want to end the Ty Gibbs and Tyler Reddick fight, but then they were like, oh, well, we can't have them, like, race past Cody Ware. Once they, like, realized, they were like, there's 2 laps left and we can't really have them, like, race past somebody that's actively in the tire barrier. So they're like, fine, we'll put it under yellow.
Which kind of sucks for Tyler Reddick because, well, I mean, he could have potentially overtaken Ty Gibbs. Although, Ty Gibbs, I said it once, I'll say it again. It's going to happen for him one day. He's going to stand at the top step of the podium that the NASCAR fans are going to hate. And we're going to go, we've said this all along.
Mm-hmm. He's going to be our Nico someday.
One day, he will be our Nico Rosberg.
Right.
And he's going to become the world champion.
No, I meant Nico Hülkenberg.
He's gonna get a championship before Denny Hamlin, and we're all gonna go classic Nico Rosberg.
No, he's gonna mentally torture Denny Hamlin and then put so much energy into beating him in a championship that he's then gonna have to immediately retire from NASCAR. And then have, like,
and
weird
we're gonna
edits
say
made by 14-year-old girls about their
classic
love.
Nico. To Olivia Rodrigo songs, probably.
Probably. And then there'll be a fun name. Maybe instead of Brosades, it's Bro Gibbs.
I was like, yeah, let's combine their names.
Instead of Joe Gibbs, it's Bro Gibbs. That's
Bro
funny.
Gibbs. Wow. I can't wait. I can't wait for the Dye edits. Ty isn't a really good name to mix with other names.
Dye? Did you just say Dye edits?
Yeah. Yeah, because it'd be DY. Because his name's Ty.
All right. My laptop is at like 8%. So, like, we're wrapping it up.
What do you want me to do about it?
Who won the race? Should we say that?
Shane Van Gisbergen. Again.
Did he do a rugby kick? Please tell me he did a rugby
I didn't
kick.
see it. But I'm sure he did. That is his little thing. He gets a little rugby. They go, you won! And then they give him how many... You think they have any more rugby balls? Because apparently I just found out, I think Sonoma might be a road course.
Yeah, apparently Connor Zilic and SVG going against each other in Xfinity next weekend.
We're running this back?
We're fucking running it back, bro. We're running it back. We're not done.
I can't wait.
If only SVG would have actually been ranked in this in-season tournament, he would have been doing really well right now. Too bad he wasn't even seeded into the tournament.
Unfortunately, it does seem like Ty Dillon is gonna win.
I hate to hear that.
I don't know, I'm kind of excited. Ty Dillon's never hurt my feelings before. Yeah, speak. You've only got 8% left though, so make it valuable.
Did Chase Elliott do okay today, or was he out? He was kind of like, he was fighting with John Hunter Nemechek, and they were right next to each other. And I was like, for fuck's sake, you literally are supposed to win my tournament bracket, and you're fighting with John Hunter Nemechek right now.
Yeah, he finished right behind John Hummer Nemechek. Well,
so he didn't.
John, in 16th. Why, was that who he was going up against?
Yeah, so he's out of the fucking tournament. I'm so mad!
My bracket's busted. Like, no recovery from this. My bracket
I cannot
busted.
believe my bracket got busted by John Hunter Nemechek. That is so upsetting on so many levels.
I went to the NASCAR in-season challenge, and all I got was my bracket busted by John Hunter Nemechek.
What do you mean he's moving on to the third round? He's not allowed in the third round. He's not allowed. Do you think Scott Dixon and SVG are friends?
Because they're both from New Zealand. I hear New Zealand's pretty, like, small town vibes, so yeah, probably.
Aww.
Do you think he wants to do Legends cars with... What?
I think he does.
Legends cars. He could do Legends cars. We could invite him to the group. We're not a part of the group, but we could we could be like we could put him on a group chat.
Can we submit a request to the group that Connor and Scott get to come join for a weekend?
Oh, dream team.
Please. I hope New Zealand's a good place right now. I hope you guys are celebrating in New Zealand. I hope you guys are having a good time celebrating your two champions. Sometimes you get a Liam Lawson. Sometimes you get an SVG and Scott Dixon. You know what I mean? Both ends of the spectrum. And I think that's really powerful. One of them DNF'd this weekend. Two of them won. That's exciting.
Those are great odds.
Yeah. New Zealand's doing better than America. We won 0 races this weekend.
Ain't that the truth?
On the 4th of July weekend, we won 0 of them.
Isn't Jack Crawford American? He won F2.
I didn't know we were throwing F2 in this.
Well, I needed to find an American for the country. Okay. The country needed it.
Because then if that's the case, then we're also throwing in Indy next, and we lost that too.
I don't think there's any Americans in Indy next. So I'll just use Australians.
Yeah, what is going on there? Did we run out of Americans that can do open wheel racing? We ran out. We don't have any more.
We just have we have Miles Rowe, who's just oh my god, dude, he had such a good. You have to watch the Indy next race today. He has what a race from that kid.
He's doing good.
He is doing good.
Because someone on Reddit said he is a disappointment. Do you think anyone on Reddit has ever said I'm a disappointment?
He's a disappointment. It's like, okay. What do you want me to do about it?
My parents are on Reddit being like, Andrea is a disappointment.
They're on Indy Next Reddit saying that. No,
I'm
Miles Rowe.
disappointed in Andrea for thinking that Miles Rowe was a disappointment.
No, I think Miles Rowe does pretty well.
I'm really sad because the guy with the Frank's Red Hot car crashed really bad.
Is that Murray?
No, the other one. Starts with an
Godo?
E-S. Yes. He drives the Frank's Red Hot car, and I
pissed
can't imagine
at his
why.
teammate. He was pissed at his teammate. He's like, thank God I didn't see him, because I probably would have. Thank God I haven't even seen him yet. And meanwhile, Murray,
who's like, hey, I almost just died.
He's 18-year-old kid who's just like, I haven't even watched the replay yet. I was just upside down. I'm sad that happened. I don't know. And the other guy's like, thank God I didn't even see him. I don't even want to look at him right now. I don't even want to talk to him. I haven't even watched it. I don't even want to know.
You know what I think is, do you think what is missing from Indy Next? A hate cauldron. Do you think we could you and I could take that on for Indy Next?
We bring it next weekend? Well, because the hate cauldron was invented. It was birthed in mid-Ohio, conceived.
You and I on the ground, boots on the ground in Iowa next week, being like, so you guys both almost died. You seem mad at each other about it.
Teammates.
Do you want to talk about it into these little mini mics?
What do you have to say about it?
So we can quote it and put it in a video? What do you think about your teammate?
What do you think about that?
You said you wanted to kill him after the race. You were so angry and mad. You said, good thing I didn't see him.
That's a crazy thing to say. I gotta be honest.
My AirPods just died. We should wrap this up. Goodbye, everyone.
Thanks for watching. Andrea has a video coming out on ATYL Media on this Thursday at 9 a.m. Central Time. And we will see you
10
next time.
a.m. proper time.
It's literally not about you, Andrea.
Goodbye, everyone.
Goodbye.